Welcome back to another episode of Very Vehicular, brought to you by Vyper Industrial. As always, I'm your host, Brian Scotto, and today we have a repeat offender. That's right, Mike Burroughs from StanceWorks is back because I wanted to have a one-on-one with him and get into a lot on his projects, the way he does things, sort of his mentality around all of it. It's an excellent conversation. Give it a listen. If your favorite pair of safety glasses prevented a catastrophic eyeball loss, those things deserve their place in the trophy cabinet. But if you just got a bad scratch right in your line of sight, bummer. And Heatwave Visual knows this. Introducing the Skynet, an all-new frame that's Z87 Plus safety rated with 0 horizontal obstructions. But the highlight feature is the new lens protection film. Think iPhone screen protector for your safety specs. It even comes with a jig to replace the films yourself for when you've stared into those mesmerizing grinding sparks for just a breath too long. And on top of all of that, these are their lightest frames ever. Find them at heatwavevisual.com. Have you ever bought a set of coilovers just to lower your car for looks? It's okay. Slammed cars look great. And while KW Suspension has you more than covered for that, when it's time to step up and make your street car into a track car, they offer the Club Sport. Available in both 2-way and 3-way adjustability. This kit offers top motorsport technology for road-going vehicles. It's developed at the Nürburgring, but on street tires. So you can race on Sunday, but still commute on a Monday. And who doesn't like being able to name drop the infamous Nordschleife when bragging specs at Cars and Coffee? Go find the kit for your vehicle at kwsuspensions.com. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Mike Burroughs. I have you all to myself.
I'm excited about it. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm going to say I originally invited you on because I was like, oh, we should do a firing order with you. Because, like, you know, you're good at arguing and fighting. You proved that in the Victoria episode. But then I was like, you know what? We should just do a one-on-one, just catch up. Talk about it all.
Hearing that I'm good at arguing is like, that's the finest compliment I've ever been paid. No, we'll have to do it at some point.
You are a master debater, my friend.
Thank you very much. I've practiced a lot. No, I'm ready to don the boxing gloves when the time comes, but this will be fun. It's been a while since we really caught up. So.
Yeah. Let's see, since we last spoke, you got a cease and desist, but I'm sure you probably are sick talking about that.
So the big thing is I've been advised to not talk about it.
There you go. Perfect reason for us to move forward.
So really the only things I'll say about it is, so I did get a cease and desist from Ferrari, and it was the most gentle, kind letter. Yeah. And everything that I said on the last podcast, I feel validated in what I've said, what they care about. It's perfect. I nailed it. So
while I don't want to be the cause of your cease and desist, I want to believe that I was, although you did do an entire episode about maybe getting a cease and desist. So you might have asked for it.
I certainly poked the bear and kind of whatever it is.
Actually, no, bear. No, I'm sorry. You poked the horse, I guess.
Yeah, I whipped the horse. So, I'm not surprised that it happened. It was very gentle. I have not been told I can't build the cars or anything like that. That's cool. It's all just really minor, hey, we just need to be acknowledged here type of thing. Yeah. So,
all right. Well, what about things not Ferrari? Because I feel like everything right now for you is is that all you talk about? Because we talked about this right before the show started, that you have become a one-dimensional character. You are the man who built an F40. Or started to build an F40.
I have an appreciation for anybody that wants to come up and talk about what I do or the episodes or what have you. Because they watch is why I get to do this. And so anybody that wants to talk about the F40, for example, of course. But from a very personal perspective, it's a little bit of a bummer that almost exclusively, even people that are friends of mine that I just haven't seen lately.
Right.
Every single person, the only thing anybody asks me is just, how's the F40 coming?
Yeah.
And I get it. They want to know. It's a thing to talk about. They're curious, and it's great. The downside is that it's hey, dude, if you saw the last episode, you're caught up. There's maybe a week of work since then.
It's not that far in front.
I don't have any new info to give you. And I worked really hard to give you this 30-minute, really in-depth episode about how it's going. So I can't just say, hey, just watch the episode, because that's really dismissive. But I promise you what's in the episode is a lot more in-depth than I'm going to have the energy to sit here and like explain in a 10-minute conversation. So,
yeah. So how many projects do you currently have rotating at the moment right now? Let's count them off. So you have the F40.
The F40 and then the Honda swap Ferrari.
Right. So you have those two because the other one you still drive, so it breaks and you have to keep fixing it.
It currently has no engine or drive line in it at all.
How many Ks have you been through on that?
So I'm currently on, technically speaking, K number 4, but the current K is one. So I changed engine builders.
This one's going to last.
It has. So the current engine, it has a complete season of racing on it at this point.
Okay.
And it is out of the car, not because it had any issues, but because I'm on gearbox number 4 now.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm changing gearboxes over to Hollinger. So I ordered that back in September. I should be getting it any day now. With that out, I took the engine and gave it back to my new engine builder, which is Dave at RS Machine, and I'm shouting him out because like he has like that engine stayed together for an entire year of racing and didn't skip a beat, was driving perfect. We abused the hell out of it. I can't praise him enough, and that's all I wanted out of my K-Series experience. So the first engines that I had trouble with and blew up prematurely, and I really tried to go an avenue that I thought was the best of the best.
Right.
And that's not the experience that I had. And so this has really changed that K-Series experience for me.
Do you enjoy sort of this development side of this project, or is it frustrating? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, where does it live?
I think that's a fair question. I don't know. I don't like working on cars. Like, I don't like fixing cars. That's not fun. Nobody's like, oh, I got to fix my car today. Cool. That sucks. There is an enjoyment to be had in figuring out maybe either what I did wrong or what I can improve or what I can change to make the experience more enjoyable or faster or whatever. That's part of, in ways, kind of, like a scientific method or something, right? Like, how can I improve everything that I did or what I learned before? How can I make it better? I like that part of it. The downside is just sometimes, or even a lot of the time, the failures that I've experienced with that project aren't even within my control. So having engines break multiple times or having gearboxes break multiple times, I'm finding the weakest link. And so learning where I can improve on other people's parts, but it's not failures of things that I have done, unless we want to call potentially the integration of those parts together.
I mean, you chose
my doing,
but at the end of the day, you're the designer, engineer, coach.
There's only so much control I can have over like whether or not my transmission is going to blow up every other event. So
the reason I ask you that is because for me, like the K Ferrari is sort of an expansion of the Burroughs like story arc. And I say this because all the other cars, and correct me if I'm wrong, but all the other cars, I think like most of your time was spent in building them. And then when they were built, they either were like sort of debuted and then they, and I can't talk, I got the same thing, but you were in this situation where like, there really wasn't a lot to do with the car afterwards because, you look at like the hot rod, it's like, okay, cool, you built it, you can go drive it somewhere, but like it didn't really have like a storyline that continued after it. Where this car, it's like you built it, you did all of that, and now you're actually doing what a lot of YouTubers don't do, which is like you're taking the car that you built and like you're putting it through the paces. And it's not actually, I think, as everyone would imagine, which is be like, oh, you went to all the grid lives, you went to World Time Attack, you got to do it. It's like, no, I went, I broke, I had to fix it. Like, you're actually showing a very true side of when you build a really heavily modified car. And the question for me looking at you is like, I know you enjoy the building side of it. So I was curious as if you hate the development side as much as normal people.
No, I don't. Like, I'm not mad when the car breaks, other than like when it's something dumb that keeps you from being out there for the day, and you know, but everybody feels that. So I do enjoy the development process, and I've really enjoyed getting to take that car and make it better. And it's one of those things where I know that car has a lot of potential in it, especially beyond my own skill. I mean, I'm still learning as a driver. I mean, like, I'm competent, but I'm not a pro. And so it's been a lot of fun. I think one really interesting aspect of that is that through, let's say, the YouTube comments, I see so much that's something to the effect of like, maybe they're suggesting I don't know what I'm doing or that I can't build a car or whatever because it just constantly breaks. But then when I go to some of these races and I spend time in the pit or the paddock, everyone that has been through this process says, dude, this is exactly how it goes. Anybody that's built a complete ground up, fresh build race car where there's not a single part on that car that hasn't been completely and extensively modified, you're going to have those teething pains, those growing pains. When you see guys out there that are campaigning cars to a truly competitive level, especially when they're that modified, they're out there with huge bank accounts, incredible teams, or serious financial backing. And so at the end of the day, I am still just a dude in his garage building some form of a hot rod, right?
And even if you were a full-blown race team, like they do a lot of development. I mean, that's the part that doesn't get talked about. Like the reason why super high-level pro cars cost so much money, because you're looking at it and you're like, why is that worth $500,000? Like you could probably build that for whatever. It's like, yeah, well, they only made 35 of them. And they had to develop them until they broke. And they went through 6 variations before they got to the one that like you're getting to drive because they already did all the teething for you. So it's like I think people see that removed. And I got to experience that more once like we started doing stuff on the WRC level. But like we had a WRC car and then we had another car built by like a really good builder. And we basically threw an entire season away because every event we went to, the car broke. Because we were asking it to do something it hadn't done before. And I think that's where like I learned like, oh, development is like a whole other process. And it's why race teams have development drivers. Because they're the ones who are out in the secret just pushing it until something goes, right? Because this like rolls into another conversation that you and I had, which is like, are we just building too ridiculous of stuff on YouTube? And I think one of the things I like about your content is like you're actually trying to make it work. Versus like, I put this crazy engine in this car and we got to do a burnout and we're done. Like, where it's like actually going and making it work is actually way more difficult sometimes than building it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of barriers where it's like sometimes I'll run into an issue where I can't ask somebody else, hey, how did you solve this issue integrating your K-series into your Ferrari? Now there's been a K-series. There's not a forum
for that in F-chat.
Unfortunately, not.
No, weird.
But you go through these different hurdles and you're trying to make it really work, really genuinely work. And I think one of the things that a lot of other people tend to forget when you're talking about a race car versus making a street car work is completely different. You think about how hard it is on a vehicle to go out and then wring its neck full tilt. I mean, full throttle for 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time under full G-forces, full braking. I mean, you're going to run that car at its limit. I mean, most street cars are probably going to blow themselves up. And I know for a fact, because of the number of Instagram posts I see when it's like some of our friends will be like, oh, my weekend car did a successful 500-mile trip this weekend, but it's like, yeah, but you drove it leisurely. Like it kind of should do that. That's bare minimum, right? So, it's been a really cool experience to take that car and try to find out how to make it work. I'm learning a lot from the 308 that I can take over to the F40 so that I don't have some of those same teething pains, but at the same time, there's still going to be a lot of stuff that really likes to break.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like fun. What other cars you got on the list?
So I've got my E36 that I've had. This is 20 years now. So that's the leading one. I, as always say, I love and hate it. I absolutely hate that car. We've got my late friend Corey's E30.
Yep.
I've got the Audi, which hopefully Jason cough will put my engine together relatively soon. I asked if he needed anything from me lately, and he was like, just time.
Yeah.
Which I get it.
He's got like a new full-time job now.
Yeah, so. 2. So we got the Audi, and then I've got 3 trucks at the moment. So I've got the big Ford F350. I've got Ash's F100, which is about to become a massive project.
We miss it. I thought you'd bring it here today. Because I told her, I was like, Burroughs is coming by, and I was like, he might bring the F100. Who knows? So.
I was going to. She's broken down at the moment.
Sorry.
And it happens.
Not my problem anymore.
Not your problem anymore.
Yeah.
And then I have a 98 regular cab short bed GMT 400.
Oh, okay. Is that new?
I bought it in August of last year, and I've put about 6 miles on it. So I had like big plans and then had some sponsors hop on board for it. And then those sponsors the last second were like, just kidding, can't do that. And so now it's been parked. I think I'm going to sell it just to throw that money towards the F100.
Cool.
What else is there? Oh,
by the way, your F100 molding is behind you.
I saw that. I appreciate. I'm glad that you found it.
With the key to the gun rack too. So
cool. I'm excited for it. And then lastly, I haven't debuted it on the channel yet. So this will be kind of exclusive content, but I'll talk about it here. Kind of a teaser is, and maybe we've talked about this before, but I have spent the last 10 years tracking down and then purchasing my father's Camaro. He sold it when I was a year old. And it's a very special car, 217 mile an hour, absolute monster. So I partnered up with Pennzoil and Napa, and I acquired the car.
How did you find it? Like, how do you go about doing something like that?
I have all sorts of magazine clippings of this car because it was in Hot Rod Magazine, Car and Driver Magazine, etc. So I knew
was it a land speed car?
In a sense, it competed against the Top Gun Callaway Corvette.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I was actually on another podcast for the Peterson Museum probably 9 years ago.
Yeah, okay. I remember that. I was on that. I took the record for the longest pod.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But through that podcast, we talked about it there, and then I got connected with, I knew that my dad had sold the car to John Lingenfelter.
Oh, okay.
And so I knew that it kind of had to be there somewhere. And initially through first contact with Lingenfelter Group, they were like, yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. And then finally, long story made short, one of the oldest employees there was like, actually, yeah, I remember that car. And I think it was John's daughter had the car, and then she had sold the car and connected me with the guy who had it now.
Oh, wow.
To make the long story short, because I don't want to give it all away, but
yeah.
I surprised my dad with the car.
Oh, that's super
Didn't
cool.
tell him about it.
I didn't realize that your dad had a history in cars. Like you've told me about your dad's history on bikes, but I didn't realize. What can you talk about? What was, because clearly that was pretty involved if he was up against sort of the Callaway.
It's kind of
the era.
I can only tell the story through my own lens.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's kind of a cool, the apple doesn't far fall from the tree thing. So like I didn't grow up with my dad, and so I'm not into cars because he was into cars. It just kind of like, I think it's in my blood. But he is a car guy. He's a motorcycle guy. He and my mother, when they were together, ran an automotive ad agency in Nashville.
I knew that part, right.
And so the Camaro was kind of an ad project because Keith Black Racing Engines wanted to get into the street car space instead of just drag cars and boats.
Sponsorship integration builds is in your blood.
Yeah. So that was how that car came about. And he's had a handful of others, a couple magazine cars here and there. They were the same type of thing, working with sponsors to get their products out there and making cool stuff. And it's, again, crazy to me because here I am doing the exact same thing without ever, prior to doing it myself, having a conversation with him about doing that, right? It's like eventually I get there and it's just this kind of holy crap moment of, wow, I'm doing the same thing my dad did without really like having him kind of lead you. Yeah. And that's not to say like, I mean, he's been a wonderful guiding, force through so many things, but it's again, apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's a super cool project. I think anyone who grows up with like a parent who had some involvement in cars, like there's a point that comes that you're like, I want to either recreate that or do that. So for me, my grandfather, rags to riches story, long story short, he ends up, his wife built a company that made a bunch of money, and then he decided that he was just going to buy a ton of cars. So
understandable.
Yeah. And he had like the weirdest arrangement of stuff. Like he had like a Willys and Auburn, he had a Mercedes SL, he had a DeLorean. And that's a car that I very much would love to track down, because that was, he had a DeLorean when Back to the Future was like in the theaters, and I was all of 7 or 6 or something. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And I know a DeLorean's a piece of crap. I've been told by multiple people, but like it still makes me want it. And at some point I tried to kind of like be like, could I figure out where this thing is? And my cousin who actually listens to the show, he's a bit older than me. He I think he ended up telling me that the car, I think, made its way to Japan, which actually I think all of a sudden makes it easier to find.
There's probably not many.
There's not as many of them there as like here. At some point, people went out and started collecting DeLoreans.
Yep.
So like there was like multiple people who were like, I'm going to hoard DeLoreans. There was actually in Sayville, Long Island, where my friend Jay used to live, like there was like this one parking lot that had like 27 DeLoreans in it in like 2004. You know, like
why would you want that? What is wrong with you?
You don't like X chassis design? Anyway, but like that's like to me, it's like that thing. And then the other one, which I think I may have told you about, but it's like my secret project, although it's not that secret anymore because I think I've mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times. But when actually, to her chagrin, when Ashley was pregnant with Hudson, I stumbled on a really good deal on an E-Type. Mm-hmm. And I went and bought it because my dad had an E-Type, which he sold when I came around and bought a Pinto. So I, because it's a better family vehicle, I thought, wouldn't it be funny to do the opposite
and buy one?
And go buy, and I found this like complete sort of like wreck of a car. Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't really want to drive like a vintage E-Type. Like I want to drive like a fully like resto modded, like build my own car, like really just use the body of it. So like that's this car that's like sitting in a shed at my farm that I don't plan to start until Hudson's old enough to actually work on it. Like he can turn wrenches, he's 6,
right.
But like he it's not there yet. Like he needs to be like 10 or 11.
You also want him to be able to
I want him to want to do it too.
That's
like I don't want it to be like, oh, dad's making me do it. It's like, so there's actually, I'll get off this record, but there was this book that someone bought us early on. It's a fantastic book for kids. And it's about a guy who finds a Maserati race car that belonged to Sterling Moss, like in their like farm shed, and then like they rebuild it. And like I read him this book since he was little, so it's like I my ultimate goal is to start working on it, hopefully while my dad is still here, where there's a moment where like I get 3 generations of Scotto men to like work on this car, like to, even if it's just like one moment, just so I can say all 3 of us worked on it. But right now it's behind so much crap in the shed that I can't even get it out. But anyway, to what you were saying, like there's something extra special that I think is like hard to explain to people. Like that already sounds like a special car. Like I'm talking about a basic E-Type. I didn't find my dad's original E-Type. I just found a E-Type. It's not even the same model, but I think there's like some weird connection there. It's like hard to explain.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fun that anybody that I've taken the time to kind of explain what I'm doing and what this car is, everyone's like, oh, dude, that's like the coolest story I've ever heard. And I think that the video series that we're putting together on it will be maybe the coolest thing I'll probably ever do. I mean, plenty of people will be like, dude, a 3rd gen Camaro is not as cool as an F40. What are you talking about? But to me, it's like, hey, like,
yeah, but if it's cool to you, yeah.
And that's also my barometer.
I gotta also say the Instagram video that's like son tracks down dad's old car, rebuilds it, and surprises him. That's like 1 million views right there. Like that, like it hits all the feels. So, are you dropping the first episode on Father's Day?
When is Father's Day? I should
in
know
like
that.
a few weeks.
No, it won't come out yet. I'm not ready. We're still like churning through all of the footage that we've shot, and I got to like now assemble it all.
You got to turn on that side of the marketing brain, buddy. Like because the algorithm will turn up dad stuff on Father's Day.
Stop, because I'm gonna get an email from Penzo being like, hey, actually, that's a really good idea. Can you do that?
June 21st.
Yeah, see, you're a month out.
That could be possible. No, I'm not.
You could make it happen. You could like at least sneak it. At least get the Instagram.
The
teaser teaser comes out Father's Day weekend. You drop it on the Friday, so it rolls for the weekend.
There you go. So that's like kind of the big thing that I've been working on, and it's taken a lot of effort and time lately. So people keep saying like, why is progress on the F40 so slow? It's because there's other stuff happening too.
Yeah.
So
do you enjoy the way you build? Because I am very jealous of, when I say that, I mean the way you move from car to car, like the cadence of it. I'm jealous of it because I always would love to have been able to build cars that way, but I always feel like the audience wants you to like build a car, finish it, then move on to the next one. Because you kind of like, you started that Audi project, I mean, years ago,
yeah.
Right? So like that's like this thing that like you work on it when the time comes. Like, do you enjoy working on cars that way, or is it more of a necessity to work on it that way because of this,
It's a bit of both. I mean, like, let's use the Audi for an example. I want the Audi done. People all the time will say, like, dude, why won't you give us episodes? We want to see it. And it's like, I promise I want the car done more than you do. But there are reasons that I haven't put out episodes on it. The biggest one being parts are really hard to find. And then just not to, like, I don't want it to sound like I'm complaining about it, but like things like getting the engine put together or, you know, just tracking down certain things. It's just a time-consuming process when I'm relying on other people. And Jason, when we talked about it, because initially I was having somebody else build the engine, and that kind of fell apart. And so then Jason, being a friend of mine, I was like, "Oh, dude, this would be perfect." But I'm not gonna pressure him to get it done. Yeah. And so that just means, hey, that project's gonna be on the back burner. But I'm okay with that because I have other projects I need to do anyway. So
he's got my 8-valve sitting at his shop that, like, I think he's done building. He just hasn't given it to me.
We got to go pay him a visit.
Yeah.
So to answer the question, like, yes, I like the way that I build cars in that I don't want to focus on just one car until it's done. I get burnt out on it. I'd be super annoyed if I just had to go in and work on the same car every day. And so it's nice to have a break, to get to pivot, to do something else, let maybe thoughts about solving a problem or how I want to do something, let that sit for a while. Maybe I'll revisit it. I'll let the dust settle a bit. Go work on something else. Turn wrenches elsewhere. Come back to it. Have a fresh mindset. I found that when I was working on just one build at a time, so whether it was like, let's use Rusty for an example, which was like my first huge build.
By the way, for people who don't know, Rusty Slamington, kind of like internet famous car. Like, it's got to be in a top list of internet famous cars, and it had two variations.
If you're old.
Oh boy, yeah, you're right. Yeah, if you're old like us, yeah. So how old are you now?
I turned 37 last week.
Oh, you're not even old yet. I'm almost 10 years older than you. So, but yeah, like, kind of a famous car. Would just give people the quick on it.
It's in its final form, full tube chassis, wide body, mid-engine BMW Group 5 race car rat rod thing.
That started as...
it was originally an E28 Series sedan. It's now a chopped top 2-door. Like, it's ridiculous.
And it started as like a stance car.
Yeah.
And then it became this like amazing fab car. I want to call it a fab car because I feel like it's a car where it's like the fabrication on the car is what makes it amazing. Where like originally it was just rusty and slammed, but then like the concept, and I don't mean just the fab, it's like a fab and a concept car.
Yeah, I think the concept of it is like really what makes it cool and interesting. There are plenty of other vehicles that are similar to it or what have you. When I built that car, I hadn't seen anything like it yet. Nope. And it was before, you know, kind of like the popularity of Instagram and whatnot in the car community was like really a thing. And
before YouTube builds were getting over the top.
Exactly. And so it was a very unique vehicle in that, like, the concept was crazy and it was, I mean, I took it full tilt. I hadn't seen somebody do a full tube chassis car that wasn't like, oh, this is a purpose-built race car. It was like, no, this is just to build it. Didn't have a purpose. It was like, I'm just making something crazy.
Yeah.
So that car, I took probably 2 months off of working on it at one point because I'm burnt out on it. I got to let it sit. Or even when I was building the Model A, I had to pump the brakes for a little while. And so I think that doesn't mean that I don't want to be working on something, but sometimes I'm tired of a project. I've put enough thought into it. Maybe I'm stumped. I get stumped all the time. Like, I spend a lot of time really just looking at a car or a project rather, and trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? There's no right or wrong answer necessarily, like in the most objective sense. And so it's like, sometimes I get really burdened by that. And the only answer is to just come back to it later.
Yeah, I have envy for the way that you do your thing. And I've always been curious as to whether or not, like, it's a planned thing. It just kind of works that way. But I think the reason I'm envious for your process and how you build cars is because I think my brain works the same way. I have this, like, I love working on cars. I just don't have a lot of time in my life right now to do it. And for me, working on cars isn't really what pays the bills. Like, making content is what pays the bills. So, like, I have to be spending every day present as, like, a director and, well, now a podcaster. But, like, I was never the build content guy. Like, yeah, I made build content on Hoonigan. Right. Like, that wasn't really my specialty. But, like, I have this dream of this retirement. And my retirement looks like your YouTube page, which is like... go work on this this week, move over to work on this. Like I love the idea of like you just kind of move through the pieces, and it's a bit haphazard. It's definitely the neurodivergent garage, but I just enjoy that. But I also, as someone who like, studies the algorithm, studies YouTube, I'm like, it's not the best way to do content. But if it works for you and it makes you happy, then that's probably the way you should do it.
Right. There's no question that my channel and business would be way more successful if I took a different approach to it. Like I know that, and like, I guess in that same line or same train of thought is like, the channel has grown to a point. I mean, I have 2 employees now. It's a real business, and like it has to work. And I never really expected to become a business owner in that capacity, where like at this point, not like a majority of my day, but every day I have like real business things that I have to do. And it's like, that kind of sucks. I don't want to do that. I just want to go work on stuff. But
that's not the part of my retirement part that looks fun.
That part's not cool. But, ultimately I do try to remind myself that all of it for me it's just a means to an end. I just want to figure out how to monetize working on my projects so that I can do it. I don't really care about anything else. I don't want to be a YouTuber. It's just an avenue to make my stuff. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I want my content to be what I want to make, which is very focused. That's why I focus on the details. I talk about the how and the why. I show my mistakes because I'm a human being, and I don't want it to be overly polished or overly produced. I don't want it to feel like, hey, you're going to get just these build episodes where you're going to get, a finished project in, let's say, 5 episodes or something. That's just not how real projects work in the real world, and I can still consider myself in the real world.
So I think that's actually the part that I like the most. And I don't think I've ever thought about that until you just said it. Like there was, when you sit there and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this build. It's going to take 7 episodes to build it. We're going to fit it into 7. Like that is the way that like a media and programming mind works. And like that is very consumable. The way you build cars is probably actually more realistic to like regular people. Right? In that, like, not everything, you can't find everything at once. And especially if you have multiple projects, like you bounce back and forth between them. I saw this Instagram reel someone made the other day, and it was like a normal Saturday in the garage. And it's like, he just starts 14 things and doesn't finish anything. And including 100%. One of them was like, I need to start my dirt bike because I haven't done it in a week. And then like, oh shit, the car needs cleaning. And then he's like, and it's like, and so I think that there's something about the way you do it, even though it might be frustrating for the audience at times, it feels very authentic and like real. And I think that that's nice because I think a lot of the build stuff doesn't feel real anymore.
I try to like make sure that it stays true in that sense. And if that limits the size of my audience, okay. But if as long as I have an audience that knows what they're getting and they come back to watch it and they're happy with it, and it works for them and it works well enough for me that we can make it work as a business, then that's all that matters. I don't need to have 1 million subscribers to do what I'm doing. I don't want to look at my channel in the same way that like stockholders look at a business and say, we need endless growth. This has to get bigger and bigger endlessly for whatever reason. Like it doesn't. Like right now, I love my job. I wake up every day excited to do what I do. If I won the lottery and I had $1 billion in my bank account tomorrow, I wouldn't quit. I wouldn't change what I'm doing. I would just have more means to do it. And so I want to keep it that way. I don't want to pivot my content in some sort of like approach to find more success or to like, that doesn't serve me any purpose other than making the business side of this, the real work side of it, more work. The only work that I want to be doing is working on my car.
Do you consider yourself a YouTuber?
I mean, yes, but I don't want to. Is that a fair way to put it?
It's totally fair. I had a conversation with TJ Hunt, and I realized that the huge difference between TJ and myself and a lot of other people, and maybe the entire philosophy around Hoonigan, is that for TJ, he is a YouTuber. Like, he very much sees himself as that because it's like, it's how he came up, and he was doing it since he was like 7. Where I think you and I ended up at YouTube because the forms of media that we were doing went away.
I was a RIP print.
I was a print guy and blogs. Like, and you were really a blog guy, right? Which, by the way, is a perfect transition more into StanceWorks because everyone's like, if you have him on, you got to talk about early StanceWorks and the importance of it all.
Okay, let's do that.
But answer this one first. I mean, like, do you just feel like YouTube is like a means to to like
100%. It is a means to an end. I never set out to like be on camera. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be a personality. It doesn't have any value to me to be a person in that regard. It is quite literally and solely a way to make the projects that are in my head come to life, and as a way to generate income to do it and to bring partners to the table and to make it all happen. Like the one thing I know that we both know, and unfortunately the audience probably more often than not doesn't have a full grasp of, is how wildly expensive it is to build cars, especially at that caliber. I mean, it is just eye-watering, especially now having a business to do it where I keep a spreadsheet on all of it.
I remember at one point telling someone that the electric bill at Hoonigan was $9,000 a month because how much welding we were doing. People were like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, we had to also turn the lights on, but like, trust me, it wasn't the lights because I knew what the bill was before we started welding. And like the plasma and all the three-phase stuff and like you just that is just a cost that you don't even think about when you're doing stuff on the level.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you a question. If you could achieve the same goal, which means like partners, have a salary for yourself, to be able to build the cars you have, and do it through a blog instead of YouTube, would you do that? Or
I don't know that I have a preference in that regard. So like ultimately, I want to make sure that I'm at least honest with myself and transparent.
Yeah, no, of course.
I love sharing my stuff. That's always what I've done. Like I like putting it out there because I think it's cool. Other people presumably have found it cool for quite some time.
Yep.
And I think that it's fun to talk about. It's fun to inspire other people. I try to like have some level of educational value in some sense to the content that I put out there versus it just being like entertainment.
Yep.
Because I enjoy those things. And so I don't want to sound like I would be content if I was in like a closed off box, closed off to the world, but still had the means to do it.
I'm not saying closed off. I'm saying like if we could somehow, like the current world doesn't exist and you could have, hundreds of thousands of people showing up, but the format is a blog versus the format being a video. Like I'm curious to, because in saying that you're like, I guess I'm a YouTuber, but like I don't really want to be one. Is it the YouTube format? Is it the video format? Because I think you were very happy being the guy who ran StanceWorks and did all that stuff, right?
Yeah, so there was still, I enjoyed that. And there was never a time during the days of the StanceWorks blog that I wanted to be in front of the camera. Like that was not ever something I wanted to do. At this point, I would say like it's still weird to be in front of a camera. Like nobody ever gets I guess maybe you get comfortable with it, but it's still funky. But I don't know. I think there are aspects of the video medium and format that have huge benefits in contrast to just photographs and words. So I like that more. I really do like storytelling. And while the stories are very different, and at this point, the stories are very focused on what I'm doing to a car versus telling other people's stories, which is less fulfilling to tell. But I don't know. I'm trying to say I like the video medium and like what it gives me the ability to do, and I get to show a lot more, and I have fun with that. Like I still like making videos because it's a creative process. So like it's not that I hate the YouTube side of it. I only like the car side. Like there's still a creative output in making a video that I think turns out polished, and whether it tells the story I want it to tell, or maybe it has the arc that I want it to have, or teaches the lesson I want it to, or whatever.
I mean, your build content clearly, like the content itself clearly has craft. Other people just like film stuff and just throw it up there. Like that, you clearly are making something that is like craftily put together. So you definitely like that. Because and this is probably a bit about myself too, where it's like I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube, like an absolute love-hate relationship with it, because in some ways my entire career and success after 0 to 60 is based on YouTube. If it wasn't for Gymkhana and then later on everything we did with Hoonigan, like I don't know where I would be in things, right? I love that it's not gate kept. I love all of this. But then there's other parts of it, and I don't want to get too much into the YouTube side of this combo. We have it a lot, but it's like there's other parts of it that I don't enjoy, which is like the algorithmic side of it, the hamster wheel side of it, and like all of that. And as someone who came from print, like I miss the tangibility of print. I miss sort of the structure of print. I miss that there was something to look forward to in maybe a more controllable like monthly delivery versus like a weekly delivery and like things like that. It gives you more time to like marinate on stuff. You never felt, very rarely did you feel forced to be like, we have to just get this out. Where like there's that different model. So I was curious because like I actually skipped the blog world. Like I did the magazine. 060 had a blog element, but that wasn't the focus.
Right.
I was a guest writer for Jalopnik at moments, but I never like operated in a blog where like it was something we had to like make money off of. But like for you guys, like StanceWorks was like a real business. It seemed like, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean it was. It wasn't like a successful business, but it was a business.
But I was just curious if the YouTube part, like what is the part of it that makes us both say, I don't like want to be a YouTuber, but I am. Because I built my career, my second part of my career on YouTube, but I still don't really see myself as a YouTuber. We're on YouTube right now.
This is true.
We're also on Spotify.
I think, I don't know. That's a tough one to answer. I think part of it comes down to the fact that, so Andrew Ritter, the other half of StanceWorks, and I did that blog for almost 10 years.
Rewind back. How did it all start?
I started the website when I was in college, so in 2009. I think it was January of 2009. And it was just a place. So I think it's initially started as a forum because I was really active on like, BMW forums and whatnot. And we were getting into, just slamming our cars and having aggressive wheel and tire fitment, as was the thing at the time. And anytime we'd post our cars, every thread would devolve into just an argument. You're ruining your cars. What are you doing? And we needed a place where like-minded individuals could share their stuff and not have it turn into just idiots throwing shit at each other. So that's where the forum initially started. And then with that, I was like, oh, well, I'll make a blog so I have a place to share my photography, going to different car shows or photographing different cars. And then from there, it just gained traction and became a place for me to showcase other cars, builders, shops, stories, what have you.
And what were sort of the prerequisites for you guys at that time? Because you did a pretty broad collection of stuff.
The only thing that Andrew and I ever said was required was we had to think it was cool. If we thought it was cool, we were willing to put it on the site. If it wasn't, it wasn't. And there's...
Was it cool and low? Because I think you guys only did kind of...
No. I think... And that's like one thing we really tried to avoid, especially... let's say like 2013 onwards, was we really didn't want to be synonymous with what became like stance, so to speak. It became like a bad word in a sense. We really wanted to just celebrate automotive cool. And so there's so much content in those archives that's everything from like vintage racings to hot rods to, off-road to, to show cars to anything, really. As long as it was cool and it had a story worth sharing, we said, let's do it.
You guys shot my Nova for StanceWorks.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like there was genuinely a little bit of everything, and we poured our heart and our souls into it. And we turned down selling the company. We turned down, I couldn't count how many sponsors because we never wanted to appear to be sellouts. And like, we only took sponsors if we really knew the company and like really, felt like it was a good fit. And like we lost out on a lot of money over the years because we were young and stupid and like really prideful. But I think that pride in what we were doing, it showed through in the art, so to speak. But as a result, the business was never successful. I mean, like Andrew and I barely made it by the entire time. And when I say barely made it by, I mean barely. And like, yeah, we had like some project cars at the time. Like the first one that I did was that 28 Model A. And that one I funded through, I sold that E9 that I had, if you remember that car. Which was like the ultimate come up as a 21-year-old kid. I bought that car for $3,500 and then sold it for like $20,000. I thought I was king of the world.
You were.
And you know, and then like when I finally started to build Rusty as that crazy vehicle, like I was fortunate. That's when H&R came on board. They're my first ever sponsor for a project like that. But as a business, it just like, we wasn't making money. It really wasn't. Mm-hmm. And so to answer the question the long way around is to say that YouTube, when I pivoted in, you know, I guess it was December of 20 was when I bought that 308 and I said, I'm going to fire up a YouTube channel. I'm going to do this and I'm going to document my projects because that's what I want to do and try to make this work. It was the first time that I ever actually made any money at all. At all.
So at the end, it's not bad being a YouTuber.
It's not bad. And it was the first time in my whole career where it was like, okay, this kind of actually makes sense as a business. This actually can go somewhere. And if I can see tangible results, if I keep pushing and, you know, putting out the content and feeding that algorithmic beast, it's like, well, it works. Versus it didn't matter how much effort we were putting into a blog. It never made more money because we weren't getting paid by the view. Right. And at that time, all of the you know, old heads at all these automotive companies, they were like, what do you mean you want me to pay you, you know, to do a banner ad? I'd rather do a print ad. And we're sitting here saying like, yeah, but you got to have people follow through from that print ad and set the magazine down and go over to their computer and order your part versus like, they can click on it. They can see that part here in our article, but they didn't get it. And so like, just the ad dollars barely made it work. And no matter how many views we were getting, we weren't getting more, you know, especially because Andrew and I weren't, and still am not a business person. Like it's,
I mean, so you guys were like working other jobs.
No, I mean, like it was our only job. Okay, and like most of that income, I mean, we had advertisers and then we did our merchandise, which was all Andrew. And like, again, it worked, but like, I think for most of that stretch from 2011, when I moved to California, up until it was 2018 when Andrew left and finally it was like, hey dude, I got to like try to make something for my life. I want to like eventually get married and have a kid and what have you. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And like, I think that entire time we were making 20 to 30,000 bucks a year. Like, I mean, it was like paying ourselves. And then like it paid for the shop and like, that was it. That was it. And so it's like, you know, we were barely getting by. It was tough. And there was plenty of months where it was like only one of us was getting paid or what have you. And like, I want to make sure I give Andrew the credit. Like without him, none of it ever would have happened. Like he took the hits when it really had to, and because he had his shit a lot more together than I did. But yeah, like he made all of that happen. And unfortunately, you know, we poured our heart and souls into it, and I'm proud of what we did. Like, God, I'm proud of it. I love it. But it didn't. I don't know that it ever worked from a business perspective. It worked from a social perspective, right? Like
everybody
it was
knew
an influence.
I mean, I think that's the thing for a lot of people was that for a certain generation, you know, I'm the magazine generation. So for me, I have this romantic memory of Performance VW and, you know, and Euro Tuner, European Car, Max Power, you know, Super Street. But you guys were that for a generation that grew up sort of in the, you know, 2010 to, you know, 2015, like that was the source to go find cool cars, right? And you created that. And like there was obviously you guys and, you know, maybe Speed Hunters, and at one point there was a ton, and then I think in the end, but like you guys were very uniquely in this place of like, this is just really cool, and it was very curated, which like and you like you brought it up before, and I think it was really like in 2009, so in 060, my editor's column was called Stance because it's like the double entendre. And like the word meant something so different then than like it became later on. Like Stance was almost like code word for like it was basically like if you were like, hey, I say the word stance, it's like you had like it was a code word for saying like I understand style and how a car should look. Like
and it was only about presence really. Like it just was like
it wasn't about being as low as possible. It was like that right fit. Like there was this term in German, it's like Aufstatt, which is like the nose is lower than the back. Mm-hmm. And like there was just a certain look that like looked really good on like Mark III Volkswagens, and H&R made a kit called the 60-40 kit, and it was like 60 mil, 40 mil to give you that look.
Yeah,
and it's like that's just this nuanced thing that like I think became a language to a whole group of like the next generation people. Because if you go back, like whenever I see people build like period 1980s cars, but the stance is going like, that's not period. Like cars were gross. like fitment was gross. Like even lowered,
horrible
there
at
was
the
still
time.
3 fingers of gap in it, you know? So,
Oh, yeah.
But there was this moment where that shifted. And then like all things, it went to an extreme.
Yeah.
And then it was like, how low can you go? And you're like building cars that don't really drive and like, and all of that.
Yeah. Everybody wants to push it to the limit and find that limit and then go beyond it some more. No, I mean, I really am proud when I look back. Occasionally I'll go and I'll open up like what we call the StanceWorks archives as a tab, and it'll just feed you random articles from the past, 15 years or longer than that at this point.
Have you guys thought about doing a book with that archive?
We've talked about it, and the hardest part is like all of the web res stuff is too low. Like Andrew and I were talking about this maybe like a few months ago. It was like, we were the first to do way back. We were uploading our images at 800 pixels wide, which at the time was huge. And then we redid our website and we went to 1200 pixels, which was like desktop size photos for every single photo. And at the time we did that, it was like, holy shit, that's massive. It was like full screen. And now most of the archive, all the photos are like 1200 pixels, but 1200 pixels is not big enough to print in a book.
Do you guys not have the originals for that? Or
I know that we have everything because I have not deleted a single photo I've ever taken.
Okay.
But the problem is like going back and compile. Like, okay, yeah, we could do this. How much time is it going to take? Who's going to buy it? Is it going to be worth the squeeze? Because like I would love to do it, but realistically, like that's something it'd be like, yeah, that's a job.
It's a job.
So
it's a job.
Will that happen? I don't know. Maybe someday. Not anytime soon.
Maybe a book publisher's listening to this right now. And
hit me up.
I'll go make that book.
Let's figure it out. Because there is genuinely an archive of thousands of articles, and there is humorously, there's only one on the website that I can think of that I am unhappy with.
Oh, really?
I'm not going to name it.
I was going to say name the names.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Are you not going to do it because you're not happy? Because you don't want to out the person who owns the car?
No, I don't care about him.
Oh, okay.
I don't care about him. One, I don't want people to go find the article because it sucks. That car sucks.
Is it choice of car? Is it that you guys just put the wrong car in?
Yeah, it was like a friend of a friend, and like we were, I don't know,
Is it my Nova?
No, that car's sick. I love that feature. I love that feature.
Oh, hey everybody! Here we are for another Storytime interruption, brought to you by my good friends at FCP Euro. If you're at all familiar with my build, you know that I'm not really good at. Let's just say this: I'm the king of scope creep. I had an Audi Coupe Quattro that I was going to build into a 500 horsepower driver. It was a pretty simple, established recipe to do this. But no, instead, I decided to make it into a 1,000 plus horsepower race car that still doesn't run. The bad news is I also scope creep maintenance. The other day, went for a nice drive in the RS2. It was a spirited one, hit some canyon roads. Everything was great till I went around one corner and I heard a very familiar clunk. This clunk, the Volkswagen and Audi, guys, is nothing other than a blown strut bearing. It happens a lot, especially when driving slammed cars. And while most people would probably be dismayed at the tedious task ahead of them, not I. I saw this as an opportunity. Yeah, an opportunity to finally fix that clicking CV joint. Get after the bushings or the brakes that needed an overhaul. Head on over to FCP Euro and just fill the cart with everything I can find underneath suspension, brakes, and even steering. Hey, why not? And, then take apart other parts of the car and probably never put it back together. And this is kind of what I'm known for. If you too are like this, you can go to fcpeuro.com and scope creep even the most basic maintenance. FCP Euro doesn't judge. They'll be your plug to this horrible bad habit we have. Do you remember the conversation we had that day when you shot that car?
Yeah, do you want to talk about it?
Sure.
It is one of the most defining conversations of my entire career. I talk about it to people all the time. Okay, so I look at where I'm at in my career, and I'm like I said, I love my job. I love what I'm doing. Do you remember when we photographed that car? It was
2017, maybe 2016. 2016, because I built the car.
You had just finished it.
Was it the first iteration, or was it when after I had the bigger engine?
No, I think it was first iteration.
Then it was 2015.
I was going to say, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And this was, because when did you guys start doing YouTube at Hoonigan?
Late 2016 was the beginning, and then it went heavy 2017.
It was before that.
Yeah.
And we were standing under this bridge, having just photographed the cars, you, me, and Andrew.
Yep, the bridge behind Hoonigan. Yeah.
And you said to us, we're excited to get back and go put this blog article together. Like, the photos came out awesome. And you say to us, you're like, guys, you know what you should do? You should get on YouTube. We're going to get on YouTube. We're going to start publishing videos every day. You guys should do videos about all these cars that you're featuring. Start making video content. I've seen your video stuff that you guys know how to run cameras and make stuff, because we'd made some stuff that had gone like well, but you put it on like Vimeo or whatever.
Right.
You said, we're going to do YouTube and see where it takes us. This is pre-Hoonigan YouTube. Like, it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, no daily transmission, none of it.
And I remember Andrew and I on the drive home, we talked about it and we were like, I wonder if we like should do that. And then we were like, nah, we're photographers. Let's stick to what we know. And I think all the time about where would I be now if in 2015 or 2016 we had pivoted and had started to do that.
I was just there handing out free game under a bridge. That's where you get game.
It is genuinely like I tell people that story all the time. It was like genuinely just a wild moment for me to look back on and think about the fact that here's the guy responsible for one of the biggest automotive channels on YouTube. And he's sitting here before he's even started it. And he's just like, hey, dude, I'm going to do this thing. You should think about doing this thing too. And I'm not going to say that I'm sad I didn't do it. There's a saying that says stick to what you know, right? Mm-hmm. And at the time, I knew photos and I knew how to write. And so I was like, I'm gonna stick to what I do. And ultimately it took me to where I'm at now. So not an ounce of regret. Yeah. But it is fun to think about, like, man, where would I be right now if I had just said, like, you know what, let's give that a go.
So at that time, thinking on it, I don't think I really thought about it much. I was still sitting in this world of, like, I knew we wanted to do something on YouTube, but like I didn't know what it was yet, right? Like, but I knew that it had to be action related because like the brand was so action focused. And I was looking at you guys thinking, I wish I could just do that. But like, that's not our brand. Like, our brand isn't doing car features. Like, our brand is doing burnouts and drifting and jumping. And like, I mean, if you think about it, daily transmission basically was a car feature with a burnout. Like that. 100%, it wasn't a genius moment where I put it all together, but we had taken a couple meetings with like some big YouTubers, and at the time the multi-channel networks were big, and you know, YouTube's starting to like become something different. Like, it's no longer cat videos. And we went to go take a meeting with a company that I can't remember now, but they were eventually bought by Disney, and that was an MCN company. We went, and the guy looked at me and he said, you have to be able to make something for less than $100 or it's not worth making on YouTube. And so I spent all this time thinking, like, what could we make? Like, what could be these things that would like work, but still had the energy of the brand. And we were shooting there that day, and I was just like, man, if we brought a camera out right now and filmed this would work. Like, people want to see this, but like, it wasn't my brand.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I was literally looking at something. I was watching you guys do that and going, I want this, but this doesn't actually fit my brand. Later on, we did Build Biology, which actually kind of became that, but it wouldn't have worked, I think, as our first foray. It would have put Hoonigan in a different light, where like Daily Transition was exactly the show that we needed to make, which was just like kind of chaos, like DIY, like it really fit the aesthetic for the brand. So when I remember that, because I walked back into the building going, man, what could we do? And I think there's probably a piece of that if you were to map my brain energy during that time, that looking at that going, if I just did a burnout at the end, that would work. And then we kind of went and made Daily Transmission. No, I was happy to see you finally come into YouTube, and I was also happy to see you carve out like this really unique space for you. Because I will say this, and you know, hold on to the size of your head, but like a lot of people build stuff. I think that you have a different approach to building that feels elevated from what a lot of other people are doing. And I don't just mean because of the size of the project, because I see people shove, you know, such and such supercar engine into such and such whatever, or vice versa. But it doesn't feel like engineered. And I know you're not an engineer, but like I know you care enough about engineering that like you're looking into a lot of that. But at the same time, you also care about the aesthetic of it. And it's like, that's like a weird, like those paths sometimes don't cross. Like you can have someone who really understands how to make something, but like it doesn't look good. And then you got someone who really knows how to make something look good, but it's not actually functional. And it's like, I think you're finding like this good Venn diagram where like you're living in both. And that for me, like checks all the boxes. Like
I appreciate that. And I think if I were to try to like nail down what that part of it is at the end of the day, the car stuff for me, it is a creative outlet. I'm really hesitant to call myself an artist. I think that sounds really pretentious.
It is pretentious, yeah.
But like, for lack of a better way to put it, like it's still my artistic output. Like maybe we can go with that. And it's like, I really care how it turns out and how it looks, how it feels when you look at it, what the impression you get when you're around it is, or when you see it. Like all that stuff really matters to me. And so, yeah, you can have people that are setting out to build, let's say, a race car because they want to take it racing. That's not what I'm doing. Or maybe they're building something because they want to have this crazy machine, you know, they put a tank engine in a something or other. And it's like, yeah, you did it, but like, how does it really feel to look at it? As like, is it really cool? Like it's cool in concept, but like, does it make you feel the thing when you look at it? And so it's like, that kind of stuff's important to me.
Would you build Rusty Slamington today? Or do you feel like that's something behind you?
100% I would build it today. Okay.
I would Would you build it the same way you built it, or?
I would make it better because I've like learned a lot since I built that car. Like when I look at that car now, I still like, I think it's really cool. I like wish that I could go back and redo the whole thing because it's like, it looks like my first big project, but I'm still proud of it.
It also was your first. Yeah. Well, I guess the Model A was your first.
I mean, I built the Model A so that I could learn how to fabricate so that I could build Rusty. And Rusty in scale in contrast to that first Model A is just a completely different animal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I still think that car is awesome. And I think that the F40 is really just in many ways Rusty 2.0. I mean, like it's kind of the same thing, right? So yeah, I mean, it's all a lot of fun. And you said something a moment ago that made me want to kind of touch upon another kind of cool point. You were talking about like kind of becoming a YouTuber and, you know, how it fits into the projects and whatnot. And I think one of the other really cool parts of getting to the point of where I'm at now and the path that it's taken me is, so we talked about my dad and his history and, you know, to use the same phrase, apple not falling far from the tree. Well, my stepdad was also important in the world of cars and to me in terms of cars. So he was the host of Car and Driver Television and then Motor Trend Television, or I guess other way around, Motor Trend Television and then Car and Driver Television back in the 90s on TNT.
Wild. Okay.
So Jim Scouton, big mustache, deep voice. I guarantee you'd be like, oh, holy crap.
That sounds super familiar.
And so, yeah, he was my parents, my mother, and he married in 98. I grew up with him. Absolutely like one of the best people on planet Earth. I adore him, one of the most important people in my entire life. And one of my favorite things about doing YouTube and then kind of running that side of the business and whatnot was how much closer it brought me and him, because he still ran a TV production company all the way up until his death a couple of years ago. And so he did the car stuff, but primarily he did television shows that focused on shooting sports. So Shooting USA, and prior to that, American Shooter. And there was so much kind of overlap once my business started taking off, you know, talking about pivoting to YouTube and having that path take me where it went. And, you know, whether it's finding sponsors and advertisers and that it paralleled exactly what he did for a living for the past, 30 years. And it was really cool because kind of at the end, we shared a lot of overlap in just the business side of it. And so he like really took an interest in what I was doing there. But then it also, for the first time, really allowed him to see what I could do and the skill set and whatnot. I remember like I started building the second Model A with the Coyote motor and the F1 wheels and whatnot. And like one day he watched and he was like, holy shit, how do you know how to do any of that? You know, and it was like really cool. I wish I could remember exactly what the point was, but it was such a special moment. Since we're talking about all the YouTube stuff, I'm throwing that one out there too. I had a way to connect it, but we've lost it. But it was really cool to kind of have that happen too.
Yeah. It's funny how sometimes like you get to a certain point in your career and like your parents take notice of something that like you don't think much about, and they're just like, wow, you did that. You're like, yeah, I that's what I do, you know?
Yeah.
Like I had this weird moment when we made the first Gymkhana. My mom sent it to me. She's like, have you seen this?
No way.
I was like, Mom, I was involved in that. Like, go rewatch it. It says 0 to 60 at the beginning. And she's like, oh wow. Like, because like a friend of hers sent it to her, and she's like, oh, my son would like this. And I was like involved in that, you know? And like, it was like such a cool moment because it's like she was genuinely thought it was good before she
knowing
even
you
knew
were
it was mine.
involved,
Because like I'm her kid, I could shit out crap, and she'd be like, "Oh, it's nice."
It's great,
you know?
yeah. No, it is funny when your parents finally get. I'm sure that there's other realms in which parents find out what their kids do, but we're probably unique in some ways about like they really see it through a different lens and not just their own parental lens.
I mean, some find out on OnlyFans, you know, so it's always different realms.
Thankfully, my parents haven't found out OnlyFans yet.
Is that where all your cars are finished?
That's exactly.
OnlyFans approached Vinny like when we were still at Hoonigan, and they were trying to like clean up their act, and they wanted to get away from being like an adult site. So they approached Vinny and were like, "Hey, what can we do?" And the idea we pitched them was that we like finish all of Scotto's cars, but they only run on OnlyFans. So like on YouTube they don't run; they only run on OnlyFans.
Honestly, brilliant idea. It
still could be good. Literally, this whole conversation spun off of me asking you what cars you have. We haven't. Did we name them all yet? So let's just count them off. I won't interrupt. Let's just get through them.
Okay, so there's the 2 Ferrari projects.
Okay.
The Audi, the E36, the E30, the 3 trucks. There's I have an E28. This is kind of like a cool little thing. I feel like there's something. Oh, and the Camaro. Yeah.
Okay, so 10.
That's 10, yeah.
Have you thought about how long it'll take you to get them all done?
Why would I do that?
Okay, I don't, because I had like I woke up for the first time the other day thinking, what am I doing? Like I have just like way too much clutter, and I have way too many things. And by the way, I am on a generational run for Brian Scotto. I got 4 cars back on the road in 3 days.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because I had an issue with the Rabbit, like fuel system issue, fix that. None of this is like finishing projects. It's just like,
let's take the victories. Okay?
Had a suspension issue with the RS2, fixed that, and in the same day fixed a cooling issue on the van, and I found the key for my Ferrari. I mean that like counts because like it wasn't running, and it's like I put 4 cars back on the road.
Have you started it up since?
No, because it's gonna be a cold crank situation. So it hasn't ran. I'm gonna have to like pull the fuel fuse and crank it for a little bit.
I think we're going to save that one for the Patreon.
Yeah, we'll do that on Patreon. Maybe we could do it before. Because have you ever heard a Ferrari start after it hasn't started for like three months?
Nope.
It's not pleasant.
No,
like it'll run on like 3 cylinders, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, and it's like meanwhile the F100 could sit for 4 months, and I started and it purred. So you know,
of course.
No, I asked because when I started to do the math, because I have 26 or 7 cars, I guess 27 now. God, the number's going up. It's supposed to be going down. And like I decided to like just put a piece of paper out of like how long it would realistically take me to finish them. And I don't think I would actually live that long. Like for what? So like I have to like cut down. Like it's gotten out of control.
Yeah.
But I also don't spend every day making them for content, but that also slows things down.
Well, so I mean, like if we break it down, I want to be optimistic but realistic.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we can cross some of them off the list because obviously like my F350, that's a daily driver. The E28, it runs. The E36 runs. The E30 runs, although it does need a Vanos unit, but it runs. It just rattles. Yeah. It's fine. So the 308 does not have a driveline in it, but like it's a functioning project, right? So I would call that more maintenance than like, it's not unfinished, right?
Yeah.
It will be back on the road before, as soon as I get that transmission, like it will be back together and we're gonna go back out racing. So that one's not even one where I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, when am I gonna get to it? It's just, hey, I need my gearbox. The F40, it's a ways out. That's a huge project. The F100.
When you say ways out, are you thinking 2 years, 3
Yeah,
years?
I think I'm hoping by the end of next year.
Okay.
I mean, I'm really trying to focus
For
on
like
it.
first startup. That's like not develop. You still have development to do.
I would like it to drive by
Okay.
that point. I think that's pretty realistic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're talking minimum, 18 months, right? So that one's a ways out. The F100, I mean, if I wanted to, I could drive it right now.
Yeah, you're just
like
down
it
a
would,
fuel pump.
it would be unhappy. So I replaced the fuel pump in it. It does run, but now I think the carb is all unhappy. I don't know if like the flow rate of the pump is different, but I replaced that fuel pump and now it's just runs like crap.
It's not made
It's
well
crap.
anymore.
And I had a friend like go through the carb and do like kind of a carb rebuild on it and do some tune up, and it still isn't happy.
Not that we're going to sit here and diagnose this on the podcast, but there's no fuel pressure regulator. You
Correct.
might just throw one of those in, like.
Maybe it seemed to have like problems with the jets on the accelerator pump on the carb. So
it could just be that like I had tuned the carb for a barely running fuel pump. And now you have a fuel pump that's actually giving it fuel, and it might actually be easier to just crank it down to like 2 or 2.5, 3 PSI or something.
Yeah.
So
anyway. Like it does drive. Last time I drove it, which was like a week ago, I like had to pull over on the side of the 55 and a cop was like, "What are you doing?" And it was all this, whatever. Yeah. But it does drive, so I'm gonna.
All right,
I could go fire it up.
Yeah.
The GMT 400, it drives. I'm gonna sell it if anybody wants a GMT 400, regular cab, short bed, black. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So
really, it's just the Audi's the only one that's like, who knows when.
Yeah, I know that song.
You know
that we are doing Treffpunks this year in October. Do you think that's realistic?
When I gave Jason the engine last year, I was like, "Hey, maybe we get this done for Treffpunks." Well, we just didn't say what year. So
yeah. I mean, if you got the engine back in, I don't know, July, do you think you could have it done for October? I don't know how much is left for that car.
I mean, all the running gear at this point is done. It would just be like I need to swap the engine in and get it running, and then like do all the like plumbing things, which is
takes
like a lot
while,
of work, but I know how to do it.
You know how to do it, yeah.
Yeah, really, it's just that, and then I feel like, and then the Camaro is in the works. Like I'm actively working on it right now,
right?
And that should be like up and running in the next few weeks.
What engine's in that?
It's got an 8.9 liter Keith Black racing engine in it.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's a lot of displacement.
It's 12.5 to 1 compression.
Oh yeah.
Does
it rev?
I don't know. I think it revs to like 7. So it's a lot for an 8.9 liter.
Yeah, it was huge.
It's like it's derivative of Keith Black's offshore racing engines. So like I've got video of it just being held at 7,000 RPM going around the Ohio Transportation Research Facility oval, the 7-mile oval, just screaming. It's the coolest sounding thing. It's like, what is that? It sounds like a jet.
Are you still actively looking for other projects, or are you
always, yes, but I'm really trying to I need to get some stuff done, thin the herd. Like I said, the F100 is about to be a big project, so I need to make sure I have the bandwidth for that. There's a handful of cars that I really, really want that I say if the opportunity came up, would I jump on it? Probably not, but if it was right, I really want a Euro E28 M5, which kind of everybody knows at this point. I really want to try to make that happen.
I think you said that last time on the show.
Yeah, that's like the dream attainable car. I would really like a white R32 GTR.
I support that.
I really, really want one so bad. There's a couple other cars that would be cool. I mean, there's a list of 1,000 cars that I'd love to own, but would I make any of them happen right now? Probably not.
Yeah, I'm sort of doing the opposite of what I should do. So I should just sell stuff off and make the few things I have work well. I'm at a point where I've got, I don't know, I'd have to count how many cars run, but it's definitely more than 10 that are right now when you drove here, you should probably see my cars just littered all over the street, right? So there's not a single car here on this property that doesn't run and drive. Some of them run and drive better than others, but they all run and drive. All of them can go to 7-Eleven, get something, and come back. That is pretty much the standard for me. And I think all of them could sit in traffic and not overheat. That's like another one. But I'm sort of in this like weird, like I don't even really know what I want anymore because I get so hyper fixated on like what's current that like right now I'm so focused on building my Swallowtail for Treffpunks. Like it's really the only thing I'm thinking about. So all the other cars are like out of view. But then the other day I drove the RS2 home because it had been out at the farm. And I was like, I love this car, but there's a bunch of things I need to make better on it, right? And then the next day, someone sent me a documentary on the D11 V8 in DTM.
Yep.
And I happened to have just picked up a D11 project car, and I'm like, oh man, like I really want to build that now. And then my brain goes off in that world.
I get it. I mean, I'm the same way. Like once my brain starts going on something, that's all I want to do. And it can be really hard to like focus, especially when it's like you have something really important that you need to be working on.
Yeah. It's a bit overwhelming, though. I do think I'm at the point where like I've got to start like actually parsing the collection. But like, and then at the same time, then there's the other side of me, which is like, well, like it's not like I have things that are worth a lot of, like I have a couple cars that are worth good money that if I sold them, it'd be good to sell them, like the Ferrari and maybe even, like the B150 and a couple things are like worth decent amount. I also have a lot of things that are like all sub $5,000 cars that if I sold, I might not be able to find again.
Right.
And I have some space to store stuff. So like I get into that weird
I was
world.
surprised to see the B150 still here. I thought you sold it.
Yeah, I got cold feet.
Okay.
I got cold feet. I think like I'm going to sell it now.
I was going to say, so that means like if I really wanted it, it's available.
If you really wanted it, you probably need to buy it in the next couple of weeks. So, but it's like I don't drive it. Like it's here, it runs and drives, but like I just don't really use it much. I don't know. It doesn't like fit my, like I love it for what it is. I think it's cool. And I'm like, I love the idea of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm infatuated by the idea of it. Like where I don't actually think
I get it.
And when I drive it, again, I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh, I should fix this and all that. But like my need for that versus other things. Like I'm now in a position where it's not about that one car, it's about that one car compared to all the other cars because I'm being realistic about the time I have to be able to like put into things, right? Like my I have that E350 van.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that before?
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite vehicles, but I have had a series of dumb issues with it over the past. I had like a wiring harness issue. I had
all of which is Justin Chenoweth's fault.
Actually, no, but it's headed out to Justin's. He hasn't touched this car. None of it is his fault. None of it is U-Joint's fault. None of it is J&K's fault. Like
I just wanted to blame Justin.
I know, but like that's actually the thing is like I've modified a bunch of things, but like weird things are breaking on the car.
Right.
And it's just like a bunch of issues. And then actually the most recent one was just something dumb, like a clip broke and broke the fan blade open, like cut the radiator open.
Of course.
Just like I'm looking at like at first I thought that the radiator seal blew, and then when I took it all apart, I realized that something got in the way of the fan. The fan's old because it's 2004 and the plastics whatever, and it's shattered and it just sent shrapnel through the radiator. But it's like that was annoying. I had to take like half the front of the truck apart, and like working on vans is bullshit. And I just had a sequence of like one problem after another, and like it makes you want to sell the car. But then the other day I got it back up and running, and I'm like, I love this car. And like that's my I have a toxic relationship. Like I am like in an abusive relationship with my vehicles, or my vehicles are in an abusive relationship with me. I'm not really sure.
That's me and my E36. Like that car, I love it. I refuse to let it go.
Yeah.
But I hate it. I hate that car. And every single time, I'm not kidding, every single time I touch it, something goes wrong. Something breaks. Does that give you like a level of like just PTSD around the car? Like when can you enjoy driving it? No. Yeah. Like literally at this point, like I got it out maybe, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I went up to a cars and coffee thing that a buddy put together. And I said I was going to go, and I was trying to decide what to drive, and it was up on the lift, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get the old girl down. I'm gonna take it. Like I should do something with it. And like it's perfectly detailed. It's all clean. It's been under the cover. It's like I'm gonna drive it. And so I get it down and I pull out. And then on my way to Whittier or whatever it was, it starts misfiring. It's never done that before. Why? And it just got progressively worse until it was like barely running when I got it home. And it's just, but I even joked with myself before I got it down. I was like, something's going to break today though. I guarantee it. Last time I drove the car, throttle pedal stopped working. Drive-by-wire throttle pedal, just decided to shit the bed. Stopped working. I'm sitting at a light ready to go, turns green, car doesn't move.
I think the issue is like you and I have, like our understanding of older cars is not realistic because you need to, like that car needs one person to own it who will just fix these things. And only focus on that. Like other people own cars like that and they spend an entire year making it run right. And you and I are like, well, we've got a bunch of them. Like, why is this one?
That's fair. I mean, I know that like if that car belonged to somebody and it was their only pride and joy, like, and that was their thing, like, yeah, they'd probably get all the little things sorted out. But I don't know. There's also part of me that's like, I've had it for long enough. If I like amortize the cost or the amount of money I'm into that car, it's fine. But then I also like to look at it and it's like, this is a 93 base model 3 Series. And I've put over the past 20 years, a mountain of like more than anybody should have ever invested into a base model 3 Series. It shouldn't be breaking. It's not fair. It should not do that.
Like, I don't mind the braking as much. Well, no, I guess I do mind the braking. I hate getting afraid of cars. Do you know what I'm saying? Like where you're like, oh, I'm just afraid to drive this thing because I know there's going to be a problem. Where like you just kind of get, and it's like, I don't know if it's like a curse thing and you get superstitious about it, but like, so to go back to the Justin thing. So he's installing a pop top for me. That's from Super Pacific. It's super rad. If you have an E-Series, it's the thing to get because the E-Series is such an older vehicle that like everyone stopped making pop tops or anything for that in like the, early 2000s for that vehicle because I realized that started in the 90s for how long it ran. And like the tech back then kind of sucked. And now everyone's making really cool stuff for Camping World. And for some reason, Super Pacific thought it would be a good idea to build something for an E-Series. Everyone else is building it for like Sprinter and Transit Market. So anyway, he was, I think, helped them develop it. So he's going to be installing one. And I'm sort of now like prepping the vehicle for the drive to Colorado because that like you need a drive like that sometimes in a vehicle to like get yourself past the worrying point where you're like, okay, I've now driven it all the way to Colorado out like, and if there isn't a problem coming home, but my maiden voyage home in that vehicle from U-Joint, Chris,
North
Carolina one, like was fine until it wasn't. And then I was stranded in Arkansas for 2 days with like this, and then I replaced the engine to not have that happen again. And like every time I fix something else breaks, or the thing I fixed caused another problem. And it's like I just want that car to love me, or that truck to love me back.
I get it completely. I mean, when I think about the E36, I joke regularly about maybe the way for me to get it to stop misbehaving or for me to fall in love with the car again is to engine swap it again, like just which I know isn't like, that's not logical, but in my head it's like, well, I show it some love and I also kind of replace everything while I'm at it. It's got to be good.
I think if you're going to buy a project car, it's different. But if you were going to buy a car that's like old and unreliable, the best thing is to buy it 1,000 miles from your house and then go by yourself to get it home. Because by the time you get it home, you got to bring tools. You will sort out all of the issues and you will fix them in the way they should be fixed, which is there's no scope creep. You're just getting back on the road. Because the problem for me is I take a car like that and I'm like, well, while I'm here, I might as well tear all of this out. I might as well replace the engine. Yeah. Well, if I'm going to do the water pump, I might as well just do an engine swap. Like once you get like where if you just have to get home, you'll fix it. I had that that red Audi 4000. That thing just like I fixed all the things in 1 week. It was like a forced situation. It was like a tough mutter. And then it just was reliable from that point forward, it didn't look good.
I probably should
It had
do
like
that.
mismatched zip ties and stuff on it. I think you just need to do a road trip with it where you have to get home.
Thing is I hate that car. I'm not road tripping it anywhere. So next.
So what is next? What's you? I mean, obviously.
Well, I mean, like we covered all the projects. I like will say in a moment of reality, like sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in projects and I don't have 25 cars. So, and it is all I do every day. So
Yeah, but I have 25 cars and I'm not as skilled as you, nor is my weekly time spent working on cars, nor do I have a space to work on cars anymore, which is weird because like, while I do have this garage here and I've got a space at the farm, like I don't actually have a shop anymore, which is actually like my brain and my understanding of like how much work I could get done and how much I can like do with a car was based off of having a massive shop and space at Hoonigan, and I don't have that anymore. But like I can't and also not just that, but having like access to people like Soupy to be like, hey, I can't do this. Can you do this for me? Like I can weld, but I can't do it like Soupy can. Like we had a plasma table, like all these things, and I now have to like rewire and realize like I'm back to just being a guy with a toolbox, and like, but my appetite is like Hoonigan. Like that just doesn't like match anymore.
Yeah, well,
So-
it's kind of like a former bodybuilder that keeps their appetite up when they're burning 1 million calories a day, and then eventually it kind of changes.
Yeah, that's also my problem.
Well, but so I don't know as far as like what's next. I mean, the projects, like I said, the whole reason I do any of it is because I love the projects,
Yeah.
and there's a list of 1,000 cars that I'd love to own. I know I need to make sure I get some stuff done on the channel. Like right now, I feel like I'm kind of in this void of the channel needs a W.
That's
So that
like
they
the
can-
worst feeling.
So that they can feel like, all right, we've crossed something off the list. So I need to get like the 308. I need to get the new gearbox in it, engine back in, get that done. I need to get the Audi done. And then I think I can start introducing more stuff. We introduced the F100 one episode so far, and like the reception to it was unreal. So
Did you expect that?
no, I mean like that video.
I remember you telling me like you're like, I bought this. The audience probably won't care about it, but I'll build it for myself. I don't care.
Yeah, and it was like literally like, we need an episode this week. Like I posted it on Instagram, and Instagram was really into it, which is different than YouTube. And yeah, I mean that video literally is performing as well, if not better, than like F40 stuff. I mean, it's like everybody was like, "Wow, this is awesome."
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say like entire build series will do the same thing.
No,
but
but it was
it's
exciting.
like, all right, they want to see it. I want to make something of it. I'm really into that truck, so we're going to be diving into that project. The Camaro thing, I'm really trying to condense that into just 5 episodes. That I think is an opportunity for me to revisit StanceWorks content as though it's a blog, but in video form. So like, is a StanceWorks article, but in video format, right? So that'll be kind of like a different type of content for the channel because I'm really going to be doing a lot of storytelling. Like, yes, I'll be working on the car for some of it, but that's not the point of it. It's really telling the history about this car, why it's so special. And then this incredible journey of being a car guy, tracking my dad's car down and getting to surprise him with it. Like, I think that's something that we all kind of dream about or fantasize about. And, for me, I distinctly remember there was this video, and maybe you've seen it. It's got to be super old at this point on YouTube, but there's like this guy, and his dad had a Norton motorcycle that he bought new and like had taken it apart and had been in his dad's basement for decades. And so he stole the bike out of the basement, had it restored, and surprised him with it for Christmas one year or something like that. And like, I saw that probably 10 years ago, and that set in motion, like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. So to kind of reiterate what I said before, like, this feels like it's going to be the coolest, best, or most important thing I've done so far. I don't know where to go from there. And then you kind of say the same thing about from a project perspective, like, where do I go from the F40? I don't know. Like, no matter what I do, it's not going to be as grand. You know what I mean?
Do you think there's ever a time where StanceWorks goes back to telling stories about other people's cars?
It could be. I mean, like, I've done some episodes of that. I haven't lately, but like when I was figuring out what I was doing, in that first couple of years, I did, a video on like my buddy Amir's K-swapped NSX, or like I did a couple of cars that were at Joey Seeley's shop, or just different cars that I kind of had access to that I was like, oh, I can tell a cool story about this. And all of them did pretty well. Like the videos performed as well as anything else I was posting. And so clearly there's like people are receptive to that. And I like doing that kind of thing. And Anthony and I, my videographer, we have like some post-it notes on the wall of like what we call different video essays that I would like to kind of like revisit and talk about different cars or showcase, cars that we have access to.
I like the name video essay. That's good. I mean, photo essay, video essay. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before, but it's a good use
I didn't come up with it. I've heard it used elsewhere, but when I heard it, I felt like that's exactly what this is. It's a video essay. And most of them are titled A Love Letter to, and then a different car. And that doesn't mean like that's what we title it, but that's the concept behind it is like, if I can get access to, let's say, an M1, that's my number one car. I would like to do a video that is a love letter to the M1, or I want to get my hands on a Euro M5 and do that. Or, our friend Pat down the street has access to, we did a video about this 190e Evo 2. And so to like do a bit more with that, or just some other cars like that, where it's like, hey, let's do some cool stuff that is storytelling, some history, beautiful visuals, and see how that goes. But I don't know when that might happen.
As someone who also enjoys like the art of storytelling as well as building, do you spend a lot of time thinking about other ideas and the way you could tell stories, or like is most of your sort of creative energy now spent on like how to do the project?
We're always trying to refine what our content looks like. So like every few months, we're always like, let's try this. And so with the F100 episode that we did, I don't know what word to ascribe to it other than we just said, hey, let's make this way more vloggy. We actually mic'd Anthony up and said, hey, talk to me while I'm doing this. Like, let's have you hanging out with me versus just produced. And the comments in the video or in the comments were like, dude, this was awesome. I feel like we were hanging out with you while you worked on the car. And it was super easy for us to produce, right? Like it was way easier to do.
I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed how annoyed you got about the armrest.
Oh, dude, it kicked my ass. But we've since then taken some of that and done it in other places too. And so, for example, right now, I mean, this morning I was welding up an exhaust for Anthony's car because he has an E28 and the exhaust got ripped off the car somehow. And I'd been telling him for a while, he bought a set of headers for it like over a year ago. And I keep saying like, yeah, dude, we'll put the headers on and we'll build you an exhaust. But I kept pushing it back because like, I know it's going to take a week to do and it's going to be a ton of work. Well, that happened, right? So it's like, all right, well, we got to do this. Let's make an episode about it. And so we're hanging out, we're riffing in the shop, we're joking back and forth, we're poking fun at each other. And he was editing the episode up while I'm out there just welding hour after hour. But he's saying like, dude, this is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Or like we just did an episode where we went to Ultrace over in Germany and kind of tried to have it be more like that too. So we're always trying to refine what the content looks like. If we can make it easier for us to produce, but I'm also still happy with the outcome. And of course, like the audience is happy with it too. That's the name of the game. So there is kind of some evolution to what the content looks like, and there is effort going into that. But I would still say like a majority of the effort is, of course, just actually doing the work.
What did you think about Ultrace?
The event itself, absolutely.
You went to the German
one. So it's the first year of them doing it. I have not been to the one in Poland yet.
Yep.
We're leaving here in a few weeks to go to it. I have to say it was unlike anything else I've ever seen. The event was incredible. The production value of that show is through the roof. Those guys put on an event. And the only thing that I've ever been to that's even like remotely comparable would be Luftgekult here stateside. But it blew that out of the water for me. It kind of honestly ruined car shows. Now, I'm not a car show guy. I don't like going to events for the most part, unless like it's specifically just to see friends. Like I don't want to come off too jaded, but like I've seen enough cars, you know? But this event, the venue, the production value, the activations from the few brands that they had, like it didn't feel overly commercialized. There was only, I think, 4 total sponsors. It was like Mercedes, BMW, Jägermeister, and Gion. Like that was it.
Which is pretty crazy to think about that lineup for a car show.
And like they all brought the heat. And I have to assume that Ultrace had a very heavy hand in curating what their spaces look like. If not, bravo to them, especially Mercedes, the Mercedes like room that was off to the side. Like that was the coolest, I guess like presentation or event space activation, whatever you want to call it, that I've ever seen at an event, period. I mean, and people were saying, well, how does it compare to like Car Week or going to, that kind of stuff? And it's like, dude, it's a completely different ballgame.
Were you there as a judge?
So I judged, I got to pick, so there were 5 judges total. And we were each asked to kind of pick our favorite or best of show, for each day. Yeah. So 10 cars total.
I judged there in 22, I want to say, or 21 or something in Poland. Yeah. It blew me away. Like I was just, especially like being in Poland, I just hadn't realized that the car culture that I grew up loving in Germany had like emigrated to Poland. Mm-hmm. Like all the cool cars were there because the rules and TÜV and all these things are so restrictive in Germany that like the culture had really moved more to Poland and other Eastern European sort of areas. Cause it's like you're looking at the plates on cars and you're like, that car's from Latvia. Yeah. And was this sort of like weird wake up to be like, the thing that I think is the culture of the early 2000s, which was like looking at all the German car mags, has really kind of moved, a little bit more east from there. I'm just going to echo what you said. I was blown away at the quality of stuff and their ability to take like a rather pedestrian car and make it look incredible.
I have said to people, like, there wasn't a single car at that event that shouldn't have been there. No. And I've never been to an event before where I haven't walked around and been like, why is that in here?
It's also such a crazy breadth of cars.
Oh,
because you have everything from like, muscle cars that people brought in to, which is really weird to see in Europe, but then like to, an Audi, a front wheel drive Audi 100, and you're like,
well,
but it's killer. It's like they crushed it, and then next to it is like a Fiat that or like even more like there was a I forget what the small Abarth is like, but anyway, just incredible stuff that you're like, this is such a wide collection of stuff, and it's not the normal cars. It's not like, oh, it's all E36 M3s or it's all 190s. It's like,
right.
there's like really unique stuff.
Well, I was going to make the point of, so would you say, before I drive the point home, would you say that it was worth the trip over there for it?
I went there to go buy my S2 and RS2
Fair.
And drive the Nürburgring, and that was a bonus, and I was not even planning on going, but Whipple and Henderson were there. And they're like, oh, come hang out. And we had just done the deal with Wheel Pros. We're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll come over and hang out. And it was so worth it. Like, I would go back just for it.
That's the point I wanted to make. And I would say the same thing. And the point I think worth driving home is that, and I know that it's for you, this is the truth for you, I have seen a lot of car stuff at this point. Yeah. I have been entrenched in car culture for 20 years, and you've been doing it even longer than I have. You have seen everything that there is to see for the most part. And if you, of all people, will say it is worth the trip over just for that show, and I'm sitting here saying I've been to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's probably the first thing I've been to where I've said that's worth the trip over there just to go see that. That I don't know what more praise or statement I could give it, because I don't even like going to car shows. I don't go to events, and I would say, hop on a plane and go.
I agree, and I'm curious to see when you go to Poland if Poland is better or not.
I know it will be different because the German event was very much intended to be a bit more of a bespoke and curated experience.
It was smaller. Yeah.
But it was awesome, and I know that event had about 15,000 people there, and they're expecting like 55,000 at Poland. Yeah. So hugely different, and the event in Poland has all sorts of other stuff kind of surrounding it, where there's like drifting and there's all sorts of stuff happening. I'm excited. We're gonna have a car there too, so it should be pretty sweet. I'm eager to go and see what it's all about, because the Ultrace guys left an impression on me that was like, I didn't know somebody could still make.
Yeah,
and
no, I was great to see, and one of the reasons why Whipple and I did Treffpunks is because we kind of felt like the car show model was broken or done, and I think Luce de Colt is a good version of a new version, but I think that the Cars and Coffee killed the car show, right? Like, why go to a car show and pay $20 to get in to basically see the same cars that you could see at a Cars and Coffee, especially if it's in your local area, right? The problem with that is, like, there's no longer like that event to build a car for other than SEMA. And like honestly, I don't want to build cars for SEMA because it's like a certain expectation. Like I want to build a car for a group of nuanced
Yeah, you're going to show it off to your friends that all
shitheads
really
who are
into that.
just like me. Like I want to build a car that people are like, ooh, he's got that on there and that's super rare. And like, you know, like, oh, is that a blah, blah, blah valve cover? Or like who understands the little stuff that I like?
Right.
Or like, oh, he rerouted that or did this or, you know, whatever. That kind of stuff is the stuff that's like worth building a car for. And for me growing up on the East Coast, it was H2O. Like that was the show to build a car
100%.
for. And I just like that doesn't exist in my community of like Volkswagen nerds anymore. So we just wanted to create that. We were like, I don't care if only 25 people show up. I want to build something that's like really, really good for those 25 people. And it gives them a reason to be like, oh, I got to go work on my car this weekend. And we all have like this WhatsApp group. Are you in the WhatsApp group?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to get kicked out soon if you don't pony up on the next.
I have to chime in? Oh, okay.
No. Meaning like actually start working on your car.
Okay, so then my two questions. So two things. So first of all, if you're talking about it publicly, does that mean that Treffpunks is now like a public thing? Still invite only?
It's still invite only.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still invite only. So like we've told people about it. There's an Instagram page. We announced like we are not a company that promotes what we do. It's like we do it, and if it's cool and then people talk about it, that's great. Sure. Like we did this event and Performance VW ran a 6-page article on it, which was cool, but like it wasn't really our intention. It was right. We want this to be something, and it's not that we want it to be exclusive, like sorry, the wrong word. So we just want to control it and we want it to be good for what it is. And we realize that the minute it becomes too big, it's not that anymore.
Totally. I was just mostly curious because I remember like when the first invites went out last year, it was like, hey, don't talk about it, don't post about it. Like,
yeah, that was because last year, I think that was because we knew we were sort of confined to what we were doing. Now it's like, if people want to try to come, like they can apply, and it's like a double application. It's like first you have to apply for the application, and then you do the application kind of thing, and it's just like it's because someone the other day was like, oh, is it that my car's not cool enough? I'm like, it's not even that. It's like we want the right mix of things. We want the right mix of people. You know, there's like certain people. Like, do you know Fish?
Yeah.
Like, it's like we invite Fish for the comedy. I don't really even care what he shows up with. I'm sure he'll come with something cool. It'll probably be white. But like, it's like,
I would bet on it.
he's just a great guy to have there because he's like good for the energy and all of that. And
right.
And a big part of it was trying to go back to like recreating what car shows or I hate to use the word show because it was more like events, like those big like pillar events of the year that you would stay up the whole week leading up to get your car or your friend's car ready for, and then everybody would get together and drive to the event. That to me is like peak automotive fun when I was a kid. Like that is just
it's what you did it all for.
It's what you did it for.
So it's interesting. So I think that Treffpunks is clearly like serving that role in a certain way. I had the experience that you're talking about tangentially, so to speak. Are you familiar with Riverside Chattanooga?
Okay, I just found out about it this year.
Okay.
I found out about it because it was kind of buzzing for a couple days, and then I went and followed the account. Yep. And like that looks really cool.
It is.
Like it
is.
Yeah.
So,
I don't really know the background on it. I just know that there was like a ton of cool cars there, and it was a couple of people I knew who were there, so it was in my feed, and I was like, oh, I'm going to follow this. Yeah.
It's funny because this event takes place in what I would call my backyard. Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, so
your
old home.
I grew up an hour and change away from there, but I moved to California.
The potential home of an upcoming WRC candidate race, if that's still where it's going to happen. Yeah, did you not hear that?
No.
Yeah, that's where they're planning. If the WRC comes to the U.S. right now, they've been looking at Chattanooga. I don't know if it still is, but
that's cool.
Yeah.
Who knew? But it began after I moved out to California. Mason and Carly, they run the event, and they've been telling me for years, like, oh, come check it out. And it's always like, oh, I want to, but one, like, I'm not like a car show guy. Mm-hmm. Two, it's tough for me to like take a weekend to go back home just for an event, and like I can't. It's harder to justify if it's not like I'm gonna have a vehicle there, and so then like it's a deliverable for somebody or a sponsor or something, and so I haven't gotten out there, I haven't done it, but this year I didn't make it home to go see my mom for Christmas. Shame on me. So I said, I'm going to go home for her birthday. And it just so happened that within a week of her birthday, was Riverside. So I told them, guys, I'm going to make it this year.
What week was it this year?
I think their event was like middle of March. It was like
pretty early in the season. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say their event was like March 20th or something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so I said, guys, I'm going to make it. And I had to like explain to my mom, hey, on, Saturday morning, I'm going to take off. I'm going to spend, an hour and a half, 2 hours driving down to Chattanooga. I'm only going to be there at this event for like 2 hours and I'll drive back. I'll make sure I'm home for lunch with you, And she was like, all right, she's supportive. She gets it. But I went down there. I didn't spend all that long there, but I got to say, even just in the few hours I was there, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I have missed and wanted from a car event for years. It like felt like, it felt like the good old days. And what made it so much more fun, I could not believe how many people I saw there that I knew that I haven't seen in I don't even know how long, or like from all over the country too. Like just random people where I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing here? And they're like, what are you doing here? And it's like, it was a ton of fun. The way that they have the event set up, the feel of it. I don't want to call it like an insane production value after talking about Ultrace. It's a very different thing.
Yeah.
But like the vibe of the whole thing was really cool. It felt very homegrown, but still like really, I don't want to use the word professional because that sounds like it's too polished, and it's while it is polished, it's not that. Man, it just felt like the place that I wanted to be hanging out. And I think their slogan is something to the effect of like, come for the cars, stay for the friends, or something like that. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I am committed next year. I will be back for the whole weekend, and I want to try to drag a car out there for it. Like, and that's again, kind of coming from like, I don't put any effort to going into any shows. I will do anything I can to get out of going to shows. So,
that
I
says
think
a lot
for anybody that's, and thankfully everybody on the East Coast is actually willing to travel for that kind of stuff.
Such a different vibe.
No one here will do it. Like you say, oh yeah, 3 hours away for an event. They're like, absolutely not.
I was pretty big into car shows when I was like 19, 20, had my golf. I would get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and like drive to Maple Grove, or to Hyperfest, and like just spend like the entire day in the car. Like leave the house in the dark.
You do 15 hours to go to
leave
a car
the
show.
house in the dark, get home in the dark, and go by myself. Like that was like the early days before I had like a car club. Like just show up by myself. Like didn't know anyone there. Like or go with my girlfriend at the time or something like that. I loved it was like the adventure of going to the show was actually more fun than the close shows because like there was and that's actually, and like part of the Treffpunks thing is that it's a mystery. Like we do not tell people we basically say it's kind of in this region. This is like maybe around where we're staying, but like that's all you get to know. And like we will take care of everything else. So it's like we take care of like all the food, all the hotel stay, So like more like, and I guess like what you would call like a driving rally, kind of like how some of those operate. And it's like 1 day of driving, 1 day of hanging out, and then like a half day of like kind of driving home or whatever. But the mystery of it is sort of this like fun kind of element. And we did it the first year, I think partially because we were still trying to figure it out. And then everyone was like, I love that I had no idea where we were going to like end up that night. Like that we were just totally trusting you guys to like go do this thing. And it's not profitable. Like it's like we do it. We spend all the money to do it. So it's like not like a business, but it's like, man, it reminds me of like running car club events when I was younger. And it's like one of the most gratifying things to do. So like, I don't know. I hope you can get a car finished or the car finished for this one.
If a non-Volkswagen
it's got to be a Volkswagen.
Okay, well then
car. That's
the
pressure.
Now. But not pressure, but the pressure is on for Jason. If Jason can get my engine done in a reasonable time, I will put in the effort and make sure the Audi's done.
Do you know Dave Pecoraro?
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I will also create a group chat with me, you, and Dave. So when you're like, I don't have this part between me and him, mostly him, we will track down those parts for you. Because I know it is one of the biggest downsides of being an Audi guy is we do not have access to parts.
Yeah. I do also I want to make sure that I'm really clear. Like Jason is not dragging his feet. For a long time, we were waiting. I don't want to say any names. We were waiting on other people to give the parts to Jason that he needed that we could get it done. So like he's only had everything that he needs for like a few months now. So and he's busy. So I don't want to sound like I'm trash talking.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But also, Jason, please.
You don't want to trash talk Whipple too, because he will motherfuck the shit out of you when he finds out.
I love Jason. He's the best. I'm not trying to apply any pressure.
He built an entire car just to make fun of me. Do you remember when he built Spike Car?
100%.
He literally, because I wasn't finishing my coupe fast enough, he just bought a Opt S2 and then put a Notto plate on it and called it Spike Car. He made a whole video clowning me and then just sold the car.
Amazing. One of a kind.
Yeah, he really is like the Larry David of the automotive world. So it's pretty good.
That's a good way to put it.
Our friends at Vyper Industrial asked us to do a bit of R&D since I put in some serious seat time on their stools. And I have notes. Sure, they're extremely robust. It's in the name. But no one ever talks about the negatives. To start, they roll too good. Yeah, they've added locks, but I'm an all gas, no brakes kind of guy. Second, they're way too comfortable. Aren't they intended for wrenching, not scrolling Instagram for 6 hours when you're supposed to be finishing your build? Lastly, the fabrication quality. It's better than all of my builds. Vyper, do you even think about my ego? Anyway, if you must, go to vyperindustrial.com. That's Vyper with a Y. Don't lie, be honest, we've all done it. And Wera Tools isn't here to shame us for it. Instead, they made the perfect ratchet hammer. What's that? It's called the Coloss. It's a 1/2-inch drive ratchet nestled inside of a hefty drop forged hammer. And if the utter genius of this is lost on you, maybe we can't be friends. The additional extension is great for breaking free stubborn bolts or breaking anything that requires double-handed persuasion. I love this tool. I keep it in my go bag, whether the job calls for 6 degrees of surgically precise engagement angle or just medieval brutality. The Coloss can't be beat. Find this hilariously useful instrument as well as many others at weratools.com. When you went to Ultrace, did you bring your camera?
I brought a videographer.
Oh, but like, do you take photos anymore, or is it something you miss?
Yes and no. I guess like I miss this. I don't know how this will come across, but I'll be honest about it. I don't feel that there's a valuable way to share photos anymore. Like really if I post them I can post them to my Instagram and like, yes, people will see them, but like there's no, I don't know. It's like, yes, Instagram is a social network and thus you could get, let's say thousands of likes, tens of thousands of people will see them and like you can get hundreds of comments, but like it still feels so isolated in contrast to when you put them out there in the past, and whether it was in a blog article or a forum post or like things got shared and then they went out from there. And so like people would put them on their Tumblr page because they were like, oh, this was really sick. Or they'd post them on their Facebook and they'd want to talk about them somewhere else. And you'd see all these like link backs that come back.
Viral,
and like
not algorithmic viral.
It was genuinely like you could measure the success of something based on like the staying power that it had and who wound up talking about it. And it would go out and it would do things and people would hold on to that stuff for a while. And like it had so much more like, I don't know, value, I guess I would call it. It felt a lot more important to me. And so like, I don't want to just put a bunch of effort into photos just to post them onto my Instagram and have it be something that people see for a few seconds and then they never see it again. They didn't actually spend any time to look at it or see like what I found interesting about it. Like, yeah, I might get some people that are like, dude, these photos are sick or beautiful, or you should photograph more often. Like, okay, cool. But, and I don't want it to sound like I'm sitting here saying like, oh, I want people to praise it or whatever, but it's just like, I want it to be more than just a momentary, like instant gratification for somebody and then just gets tossed away and they never see it again because it's buried in Instagram and you'll never see it. And that was like the pivotal decision when I was trying to decide what to do with StanceWorks post blog. I realized I can either move this over to Instagram and like curate Instagram content and try to make something there, because no one reads long format content anymore. Or if I want to do longer format content, I need to go to YouTube and make like video content. And that's why I went to YouTube, because I was like, I don't want to make eyeball fodder that no one sees and cares about anymore, because that's all it is. And so do I miss taking photos? Like, yeah, I enjoy when I do it and I get good photos. Like that's still like a rush or a high that like I love, like especially like when I finish up a project and then I take it out and like I get those awesome photos and I'm like, man, that's exactly what I wanted. Like that's an awesome feeling. That's a bunch of fun. And when you share them and they do well, like it's cool. But I don't know. It feels like there's so few ways to do anything with photos these days. It's like literally the outlet is Instagram.
Yeah,
so it feels like a dead end.
I totally get that because like I miss shooting photography. I never called myself a photographer. I was a writer who was competent in taking photos, but it is like that joy of like you get that one really nice shot and that just tells a story. It's like I love that. So for Treffpunks, we kind of just said no video because like I didn't want to live in this world of like this just feels like work to me. Plus other people who were there, like Vinny and Pumphrey and Charles. Yeah. It's like you spend your whole day vlogging. Like you don't want this.
I don't want to. I want to be there and I want to hang out. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be on.
Right.
I want to like have to play the character. Right.
We also did the whole analog thing, right? Like the application is on paper, right? Like you have to print out photos or shoot on a Polaroid. Like we did that on purpose because we wanted it to feel like it was late 90s, early 2000s again. So it was like, okay, the experience there needs to feel the same way. And like we, people wanted to bring GoPros and shoot iPhone stuff. It was whatever. We just kind of we told people like we don't really want that. Charles brought a camera because he was making something for that. But I was like, hey, can you just not be around with it? And they were really good about that. But what we did do is Sam Dobbins came and Andy Sapp came. And I brought like my old X100 with me, and like we shot a ton of stuff and we're making a book. Because that's like cool. Even if only the guys who were there get it, and it's like a yearbook, that's rad. We'll put some up for sale, and if you wanted to come and you couldn't, or you just like the cars or whatever, because like because I had the same feeling that you had, which is like if we just go and shoot all the photos and they don't end up somewhere, like what's it matter?
Why?
But like we're making like it's basically the yearbook because it's like the idea is every year we make like another book out of everything that's
also,
there. So
I haven't heard the name Andy Sapp in a hot minute. I love that. That's great.
Andy Sapp's my secret weapon. I just brought Andy Sapp out to the Fat Ice Race as well. I mean, not just, but a few months ago. Like he's the guy that like. He's a killer in the space, but because he spends so much time like in the music world now, like he's not as much. Although, did you see he's like I think he drove at Grid Life for.
I saw something like he resurfaced, and then as soon as I saw him, I started just thinking back to drift mechanics.
Yeah.
Like way back. And
Slide America,
Slide America. His documentary, his Black E46 and the Brock B1s. Dude, that car went
so hard. So I mean, he was one of the early guys with cool style and a BMW that was sliding.
That car was it.
He's also a fantastic human, and he also doesn't have Instagram.
Yeah.
So like, there's no way to follow him in the digital world. So it's like I have to just bring him on projects so I get to be around him. He's great.
Awesome.
So he came out to that, and it's funny because he's not a Volkswagen guy, not an Audi guy. And at the end, he was like, I get it, man. Like this, I kind of like want one of these now,
I think we talked about this recently. I have like been fighting the urge. I really want a Mark 1 now.
I mean, yes, you should have one. I have 2 extra ones, but they're just great because they're really simple. I'd say I'd let you drive mine, but I don't think your feet would reach the pedals.
Probably not. Is the diesel one to avoid?
Well, the great thing about diesel here in California is it's smog exempt, and then if just so happens a 16 valve falls into the engine bay, it's
would be important to follow California smog laws.
To follow that would be
important.
Good. That would be important. Yeah.
But if we were like if you didn't live in California,
I'm not a diesel guy. I like engines that rev. I like diesel trucks, gasoline cars.
The car, one of the very first cars that I ever fell in love with, like really early for me, was a diesel Mark 1. And the reason is like my high school best friend's grandfather's neighbor. I don't know how I remember that. He had a baby blue one. It was like a baby blue color.
I know exactly the color.
And it was 2-door, and it was the coolest thing. And I was like, that's what I want. I want that, and I still want that. It doesn't have to necessarily be baby blue, but
I'm pretty sure you could find that pretty easily.
But if it was baby blue, it'd be perfect.
And trust me, I will be sending you marketplace links.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect.
The thing I love about Mark 1s is I really enjoy how they drive, and I went through. It's Vinny and I were actually going to make a video about this, and then last minute he got cold feet and decided not to do it. So we were going to do a video with my Mark 1 and his Mark 2, and we were going to do this story on how like we both own like better cars, right? air quote better cars. Like I have a 911 turbo. We both have Ferrari 360s. He's got like, I don't know, I think he has like 19 GT3s now. I'm not even sure. Like, hard to keep track. But he will tell you that Mark II is a forever car for him. One is because there's a nostalgia because we were into him younger. But two, it's like he's like, I couldn't get enough money to offset the happiness it brings me. He's like, all my other cars are worth something. He's like, this actually isn't worth a ton. He's like, so like, I don't know, someone gives me 10 grand for it. He's like, I don't know if that 10 grand replaces
what do you do with that?
The enjoyment that the car gives him, right? Versus the other things. We were going to do this video last Friday, and he was like, I don't know if it's going to work. And I don't know, maybe I'm blowing up his spot on it now, but maybe now he can't do it. But we wanted to tell the story, and I started thinking about the story for me with my Rabbit, which was like, my Rabbit was like almost like a project car detox for me, because it's the first car that I bought that the first thing I didn't do was strip it down to a bare shell. Like every other thing, like the Nova, the Coupe, like all these other cars became this like, oh, everything's going to be this massive project. The Land Rover, like, I mean, the Disco, like everything else was like, I'm going to pull the whole harness out. And that thing I just sort of kept on the road. And it's so simple that like you and I in a weekend could take that car down to bare metal and, you know, and like put it back together. Like it's not that difficult. It's like, it's pretty simple. I think there's only like 6 size wrenches you need for like the whole car. Right. And there was also just something about it that's like, it was front wheel drive, and it was like it was definitely a return to the roots, but it felt like anti-Hoonigan to me as well, because like we were big power, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive cars or whatever. And I bought it as like it was the pandemic, and it was like bought it as like a weird nostalgia thing. And it just brings me more joy than a lot of my other like more expensive cars. And I think one of the reasons is because like it is hyper simple, and like it's the recipe to make it cool is pretty easy. So like if you wanted a car that like you were like, I don't want it to get over the top, but like it's also really fun to daily and still gets like 30 miles to the gallon, because it's like,
that part's pretty cool.
like it's like cool. It kind of works. And I and this is just, it's an opinion thing, but I think it's the best. I think it's the most handsome car I own. Like I own a 911.
Okay.
I own an RS2, which I also think are two very handsome cars. The Ferrari I think is pretty handsome too. I look at that car and it's beautiful to me. Like it's just so simple. It's also like what a kid would draw if they were like drawing a car. You know, it's Gagaro design. It has this like just really simple look. And yeah, I don't know. As I get older, I realize like that's my car. Like there's a reason it's my avatar or whatever on Instagram, because like that car fits me the best. Like, is it the most fun out car I have? Absolutely not.
That's the car that I think is most synonymous with you. Like if I think of you and then I think of like
more so than my 911.
100%, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But again, I'm weird when it comes to 911s. So
you don't like 911s, right?
I do like 911s, but
keep going.
I have such complex emotions surrounding them, and I don't care if I upset people.
Well, by the way, I'm just gonna let you know, because we can roll right into it right now. My plan was that we were gonna end the show with basically Mike Burroughs' 5 gripes of the show, or 5 gripes of the day, because like I think we didn't really get into good gripes, and you like gripes, and I think you're good at gripes.
I do like gripes.
You like a good gripe, so I think like we'd end with this. So if you want to start with number 5, 911s.
911s.
My gripe.
So, like, I want to be clear in saying that I do think that the 911 is the quintessential sports car. I think that it is definitively what a sports car is supposed to be. I think that it is lovely, that it is unlike anything else. There's nothing like it. And that's both from an engineering perspective and an aesthetic perspective. Nothing looks like 911. And no one's even really tried. No one's tried to like knock it off. There's nothing, it's wholly unique. You know it when you see it. I think Porsche is probably the brand I respect most out of any like car brand, because they truly understand their heritage and they really respect it. And you can tell they're nerds.
Yeah.
They make a lot of stuff I don't care about, but they really care about the 911. And thus I care about the 911. So with that out of the way, there is nothing, in my opinion, more annoying in the world of cars than the extreme pedestal the entire community has put the 911 on. I am so utterly tired of it. I have seen every single thing that could possibly be done to a 911. People ask, would I ever build one? No, because there is nothing that I could do to one that is interesting, new, worth doing, that would be worth writing home about. It's already been done. Literally, you can just start making shit up and it's been done, including off-road lifted cars, trophy truck cars, V8 swapped cars, backwards cars. People put the engine in the front, water-cooled conversions, like slammed ones. It doesn't matter. Like, it's literally all been done. Everything got so done that people were like, let's start getting interesting and just mismatching our, like, mismatched panels. Like, there's no other car. Like, it looks cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, I see it. I can fuck with it. But do you understand how ridiculous other cars would look if we started doing that? They're like, yeah, I'm just gonna run orange bumper on my white car. It's like, shut up, stop. It doesn't make you interesting. It's not interesting.
But it's outlaw.
Oh God. And it's just like, it's all been done. I could go the rest of my life never seeing another air-cooled 911 and I'd be fine with it because everybody's already done enough waxing poetic about that fucking car. Pardon my French. Mm-hmm. It is just like, it is time for something else to have its 15 minutes of fame. And I honestly, I think it's heartbreaking that the entire, like, honestly, it's beyond the car community. It's like pop culture.
It is pop. It is the quintessential car at a fashion store, at a coffee shop.
And I knew that it was over, and I made posts on my Tumblr page back in the day when Rag and Bone did an advertisement where they crushed one with a giant concrete block, and that was probably in like 2011. Like, that's how long ago it was.
And that was actually just when it was starting to go.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
That was the return of the air cool.
Right. You could still get them cheap at that point. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know. I want other cars that are just as special to have their moment in the spotlight. And it's like 911 dudes are unwilling to turn the spotlight anywhere else. And they're all
So it's almost like the 911's casting too big of a shadow on maybe not more worthy cars, but cars that also deserve
exactly like
spotlight.
Cars that deserve the spotlight, that are just as interesting, that are just as fun to drive, that are just as important in what they have brought to the world of cars. And like, I guess I'm so utterly tired of the 911 ownership demographic endlessly congratulating themselves on their cars, because it's like, just give it a rest. Like, it's okay to be in love with your car. I am in love with what most people would consider to be a very boring BMW sedan from the 80s. Like, and I will be a cheerleader endlessly for it. But I don't know. I just give it a rest.
So are you saying you didn't listen to the episode where Vinny and I did a little love letter to the 911?
I did not.
Actually, but the funny thing is the story we said was, as played out as the 911 is, it's still a great car.
It's still...
And that was the whole concept of it, was like, we know it's played out. We know that it's like, it's just beyond the pale. We know that, like, culturally, this is eventually going to become uncool because it's become so cool. But unfortunately, that doesn't stop it from being a fantastic car.
It is a great car, and I want to make sure I iterate again. I respect the car for what it is. I think that it's one of the most beautiful cars ever made. I mean, like, there's still a part of me that, like, wants one, but would I ever, like, want to, like, make a build out of one? No, definitely not. I think that they're very special and very important cars. And I want to also iterate again, like, how much respect I have for Porsche for the respect that they have for the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really like, I could go the rest of my life never hearing about or seeing another one, and I wouldn't miss anything. I think that's the important part. I would not miss anything. I've already seen it all. And I believe that.
You got any more gripes?
I have probably got a truckload of them, and I don't even know where we got to find a hat to pull them out of, because I don't even know where to begin.
I like the 911 gripe. I think I agree with it. I don't think I've heard that version before, though. And if I'm going to pluck one thing out of it that
Please.
I really like, it casts too much of a shadow on other things. That it has become this is the go-to for that. And I think this happens in a lot of spaces, like in music. You're like, this one band explodes, and then everything's about that band, and you're like, there's 7 other bands that are just as good as this band, but like they're not getting the attention because this is sucking all the oxygen out of the room.
The Beatles.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, or Green Day and Blink-182 during the pop punk movement, and like there was 30 bands that were just as good as them, but like those dudes got that moment and everyone else didn't, right? So like I never thought about it that way. Like there's a part of it that annoys me sometimes when things become I'm careful not to be like, oh, it becomes too cool, but like there is something, it's like it just gets too oversaturated, and you're like, it's actually annoying, not because you don't like the thing, but because you're mad that you're making me not like the thing, right? It's like like there's so much of it. I mean, I feel that way about Raw Welt. I obviously,
I'm sure you have very serious feelings about it.
I was obviously very early to it. I had a love for it in the in the blog era of Raw Welt.
There was, I want to be clear, there was a time that a Raw Welt 911 was one of, if not the coolest thing on 4 wheels.
No, I owned it when I was only one of 3 in America. It was insane. And now it's like, it's almost the opposite. Like it hit this peak moment that once you get high enough up, you have a target on your back, and then everyone wants to hate it. And like, that's part of the thing that bothers me about the 911 thing is like, I've been through this before, whether it's culturally about something, like something gets so cool and then it's just not cool anymore. The New York Yankees. Like I was a New York Yankees fan when they sucked, and then they became the best team ever, and then everyone hated them. And it's like, well, that sucks, you know, and it's like, and it changed, and all of a sudden, and I'm sure the people, I hate the Pats, but I'm sure people who like the Pats feel the same way, that it's annoying that, you know, and I don't like them just because it's the Boston team. But, you know, I think that's a weird thing that's happening with the market. But I've never taken the angle of, yeah, it's just sucking all the oxygen out of the room.
Well, I think it sucks the oxygen out of the room. And then like there's this whole other side of it, which is an economic complaint, where I don't think that the economics of 911s is based in reality at all.
No, it's like Tesla stock price.
I was literally about to say it is Tesla stock pricing. Like 911s, air-cooled 911s of any generation, like they are not
a $500,000
rare.
experience.
Well, they're not worth the cost that they're commanding, but even if we separate them from that, like they are not rare. They made a lot of those cars, a lot of those cars. Like by any measure, I'm not saying there are not rare models, but like they are not rare at all. Not even close. Tens of thousands of them, and as a whole, hundreds of thousands of them. And so the pricing that surrounds them, and the parts, and the just everything is like, you guys are all stuck drinking the Kool-Aid, because it like is not based in reality at all.
What's a sports car that's not a BMW that deserves more attention that it's not getting because the 911's in the way? Like, just name one.
The Alpha GTV.
It's funny because it's the exact same car I have in my head.
It is one of the most beautiful cars ever made. It's Italian. It's lightweight. It's got a phenomenal engine. It is incredible to drive. It is a true driver's car.
The front end is beautiful.
It is, I mean, the whole car is beautiful. I think it's one of the most beautiful vehicles ever made. And
those have kind of popped in price, though. They used to be kind of affordable, but they're not anymore. You're
still talking about, like, if you got, I mean, it's cheaper than a 911.
You could buy one for $50,000.
100%.
Yeah, where you'll buy a basket case 911.
You can buy a nice one for $50,000.
Yeah,
and you know, it's like, and it is a true driver's car. There is nothing about Alfa Romeo, especially at that time, that was not centered around genuinely like, this is meant to be a driver's car. It is not meant to be anything else. And I think that everything that it offers is parallel to what you look for in a 911. I'm not saying that they're the same experience, because they're not, but like they are in parallel with each other. And the fact that one of them has become what it is in contrast to the other is just like, it genuinely upsets me. I think that it's insane. And that's just one of who knows how many cars are out there that we could do that with. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to me at all. I don't get it.
Good take. I don't even think it's a hot of take. I totally agree.
Well, I think people are coming around to it, but I've been making this complaint for like 10 years. And when I started 10 years ago, people were like, why are you being a Krabby Patty about it? It's like,
yeah, I mean, look, I'm the guy who bought his 911 Turbo for 35 grand and then watched it 10x. So it's like, I'm happy for the stock price on it, but I wouldn't rebuy it for that money.
Of course.
Like it was a really good buy for 35 grand.
That was an incredible
super
buy.
bad. And not just because it went up. Like at that time it was like, that was like pound for pound, that was like a great experience at that moment. But like, yeah. Now it's absolutely absurd.
Well, I think so many of these cars do not offer the driving experience that the price commands, which is a bummer because like they are now assets, right? Because of their rarity and what have you. And so
it's the new art for rich people.
Yeah.
Which is also skewing the market.
And it sucks because like the reason I got into the old BMWs is like when I was 16, you could buy all these cars for $250. Like my first E30 was literally $250. And I think my first probably like 5 E30 or E28s, or let's go with probably the first 10 of them that I owned were all under $1,000.
I have only owned 2 BMWs. I bought an E21 for $200.
My condolences.
It was still fun.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was like up in Vermont. Like it was pretty sick.
They're like, I think that they're
not like E21s?
I do not like Bosch CIS.
Oh,
I'm
a
like,
Volkswagen guy. It's like all Bosch
that's
CIS.
Fair. Us BMW guys, we hate it. So
for good reason.
Like just the concept of like, oh, it's a BMW with CIS. No, it's not for me.
I belong to a Facebook group called Wizards of Bosch CIS, and it just goes to speak that like if you are good at it, you clearly are a wizard.
Yeah.
like it's not like just like normal people who know CIS. It's like no, there's some level of magic that
like,
has to be understood.
There's something cool about it, but it's completely ridiculous. Like there is no realm in which I have room in my life for CIS. So it rules out the E21, which is unfortunate because like I do think E21s are really cool, especially with the Euro bumpers, like the way that they're supposed to look. My condolences were strictly surrounded around having to drive a CIS vehicle.
Yeah, it actually that part didn't give me problems, but my point was it was $200.
Yeah,
which like it was 1997 or 98. I was like $200 for a whole car. It's sick.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Any other hot take gripes you got right now?
Like, I wanna go off, but
what do you got?
It's
just not on the top of your head right now.
Yeah, it's one of those like, I'm trying to pluck it out of thin air. I'll be in the drive home and
You'll be like, damn it,
Brian, hold on, fire the mic back up.
Oh wait, I think Nick may have a gripe he wants to throw out there.
It's come to my attention in recent few days that Ferrari has launched a new product.
Was it the Luce? The Luce?
The Luce.
Luce. I
now,
guess
I couldn't let you leave here without asking for your thoughts on this particular launch.
I mean, I don't think I'm going to say anything interesting about it. Like, everybody thinks it's ugly and doesn't get it. The only take that I could give is, like, I'm not going to try to justify the vehicle whatsoever. Like, in my opinion, I think it's insane that they wouldn't, like, why did they not make something that seems like a Ferrari? Like, I just don't get it. Now, there would probably be the argument, and I've seen people say like, hey, they just made something that's incredibly controversial and incredibly expensive. And like, by anybody that owns it, it is absolutely at this point a statement of like, I am rich and do not care.
It's a Cybertruck.
It's a Cybertruck
for Ferrari
times 6.
Yeah. Although I think the Cybertruck achieved what it achieved because it was so absurd.
Correct.
This is so bland.
Agreed. So
if that had a Buick logo on it, I'd be like, yeah,
like, all right, yeah,
seems right. Sell well in China.
Yeah, and I hate the Cybertruck for a plethora of reasons, but I at least respect it in that way. This thing doesn't get that, so it's like I don't know what Ferrari's doing. But the only like point that I could make here is if I'm like trying to be really logical about it, we know. So like we can criticize them the moment that Pininfarina parted ways with them and their designs have been very questionable since. Some of them have been wins, some of them have not. But it's still really clear that this is a brilliant company. Like, I mean, they know what they're doing. They're not stupid. We can't say that they're stupid. So there's no way that the car made it to the finish line, this Luce. It didn't get to where it is without, I mean, they know what they're doing. So why did they do it? Like, there's like, they did it for some reason. They knew that this wasn't going to go well. There's no way that they thought this was going to be a win. There's just no way. You're not going to convince me of it. There's no way that they thought this was going to be a new era for Ferrari in a good way. So like, why did they do it? There has to be a reason, right?
I totally understand what you're saying, but I have watched people circle around a bad product or a bad concept or mostly in a bad piece of content where I was the whole time waving my hand going, guys, this sucks. And everyone else was like, this is great. And everyone thought it was great. And it's not until it goes out into the world and you're like, oh,
maybe.
I mean, think about it. Like bad movies get made all the time.
I guess, and like, I guess,
but so like when you're in the group, you excuse things. You're like, oh, well, we had to do it this way because of that. And the roofline had like there's probably a bunch of reasons. And
I think that there is room, of course there's room that like this thing, just everybody was, huffing the paint and like, and being yes men and nobody stopped it. And like, or they just actually thought it was a good idea. But like, I can't remember if it's, what is it? It's Occam's razor or Hanlon's razor. It's whatever's the simplest solutions, the most likely. Like
Occam's razor, yeah.
It's they probably knew, and there's some weird justification.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's one of the two. I don't think there's many other options, but I think it's a really unfortunate car. I think that like it really solidifies. There's been this like, speaking about circling, a bad product. I think that there's been this question of, is Ferrari design circling the toilet lately? Where it's like you have the SP3, and when it first came out, people were like, ugh, but now people really like the SP3. But then you also have this new Testarossa thing that they came out with, and it's like, what is that? I don't think that's it.
I haven't liked the Ferrari design where it spoke to me since the 430. Sure. That's like the last body style. And for me, the 360 was like the peak of like that era. I love 355s. I just don't fit them. But the newer Ferraris, like they kind of become interchangeable to me with a bunch of other supercars.
It's very hard to tell them apart. Yeah. But like the design language they've been using.
What do you call it? I do like the is it the Luso? What's
the bread van one?
Yeah, like the shooting brake.
Yeah, the GTC4, GT4C, whatever it is.
Yeah, like I actually think that's good looking,
it's cool
it's surprisingly big inside.
Yeah,
like, it's actually like if you needed a family car and you were rich, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and most of their cars these days, I think, look. Most everybody seems to agree. Like it's kind of what is Ferrari doing? These designs are ridiculous, and then to have this come out, really, I kind of think solidifies like Ferrari's. I would guess. Gonna, even if it's just in the enthusiast eye, gonna go into a dark age.
Did you see the video of Lewis Hamilton like pulling the thing off?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think he was thinking? Because Lewis clearly has style, understands. I mean, he just did that F40 video in in Japan.
I mean, the dude is a style icon like
there's no way he saw that and was like, that's it.
The man knows better than to bite the hand that feeds.
I'm sure. I'm not saying that I'm just saying I just was wondering, I was watching the video of him pulling it back and you can just see a part of his soul dying as he's moving this back all right, yeah, I guess this is the moment.
That would be a tough one to pretend is cool. Like that sucks.
I don't think I could think of a car that has been as universally hated when it's come out like this.
I don't remember one.
Like the Cybertruck was polarizing. There was people who were like, that thing's super cool. And then people are like, you're lame for thinking it's cool.
Yeah, but I get how the people got there. I get I can see, I judge them for it.
Yeah.
But I do understand how some people saw the Cybertruck and were like, haha, I think that's so sick because it's this
it's a troll.
It's an antithesis of design.
You built you have to respect Tesla built a troll car. Whether you like Tesla or not, you're like, or Elon, you're like, they built a troll car and people bought it.
Since we're going off, I hate Tesla and I hate Elon.
I'm okay with that. For the record, I am not a fan of Elon, Tesla. I'm not a fan of most of the EV startups, if I'm going to go out there. I like Rivian. I like Slate. But most of it to me just feels like a cash grab at a new thing. I don't know. But that's a whole other pod, but I don't know.
It is.
And I don't have that formulated. And I've the guys over at the Inevitable podcast, like Johnny Lieberman and Ed, they've asked me to come on, and I'm like, I don't really want to get into the fight of like how I don't like EVs because I was a early EV adopter and then I kind of walked away from it. I had a Smart that was EV. I thought it was great. And then I just started to realize like it didn't live outside of a small city environment. Like I could barely get to the like Los Angeles, but it was fine in Long Beach or whatever. But I don't know. I just like style wise, like it all just fell flat for me so fast. Like all the cars kind of look alike. They all feel interchangeable. They all feel like every single EV that's in the market that's like an EV specific, right? Like one of those brands.
Right.
They all feel like unlicensed cars in Grand Theft Auto.
No, I agree. And they all they're trying to make them look a certain way and stand out. The only EV that I've seen lately that I was like, okay, I'll entertain this. Have you seen that new, I don't know what they call it, but it's a Renault, like R5 turbo, but it's an updated one.
Yeah, I've seen that, but like that doesn't fit in this group for me. This group for me is like, I don't know, just like all the EV brands. Like the Renault car is sort of a reinterpretation, right?
I did drive the Ioniq 5N.
All right, I'm actually going to give that one a separate.
That car is cool.
That car's super cool. I had one for a long time. I actually did. Me, Vinny, and Ron did all of the early promotional content for it. So they invited us out to Laguna like way before the press launch and like had us like sliding it around and like ripping Laguna. And I was really impressed by it. I also like the styling of the 5N.
I think that car is cool. Like I actually, not even saying as an EV, I kind of want one. I
think the 5N, first off, I've gone flip-flop on this one, but to me the 5N is a Hyundai. It's not like, I'm talking like the tech startup EVs.
I get what you're saying.
And a lot of the Chinese ones, like they all just sort of have this same, they're all like, there's this thing about the EVs where everyone feels like they have to look a certain way. And like the Prius always bothered me like this. Like I would have preferred the Prius to just look like a Camry.
New Prius kind of hot though.
Prius is kind of hot. New Prius is kind of, especially slammed.
Dude,
especially new Prius slammed is pretty dope. I'll go that. And oddly, retro Prius has come around to being kind of cool when slammed. But back to the 5N, I think it's the right size vehicle for a family. Like I had my, we had it when we actually had a non-N, just a regular 5 for like a year. When Hudson was young. So that was pretty cool. The 5N is one of the first electric cars that feels fun because like they checked all the right boxes of like making it be able to slide a bit and be able to throw it around. Like that part's all cool. I did a video with Leah Block with one earlier this year, and like it'll actually do donuts and like there's that piece of it.
It's fun to drive.
It's fast, and I hate to say it, but like the like engine noise stuff, like while I wouldn't use it for driving around in traffic, it's actually really nice for braking zones.
Yeah, I was using it on track.
If you're on track, hearing that helps you be like, okay, I'm going pretty fast. I need to be braking. Because there's something about when you remove the audible experience, you lose some of the speed factor and you don't realize that you're taking this 5,000-pound vehicle into a corner way too fast. So like I found that actually made me quicker on track, was like listening to it.
I mean, when I drove it, I adored it. I was like, holy crap, this is the vehicle. If you could get people that are anti-EV as a whole into this, it could change their opinion. I think the design of the car is really cool. I haven't seen one done up in a way that I would do one, and I think that like there's a lot of potential. It's one of those vehicles that like if I could justify it and thought my audience would get behind it, I'd probably go buy one. But I think that they'd just be like no. But like I would love the opportunity to mess with one and show people like, hey, this and EVs can be cool.
So when I look at the design of it, the way I look at it is it's like if you gave somebody a 1990 Volkswagen Golf and it was 1992 or whatever, and you're like, draw the future.
Yeah, I would say the same, but a Lancia Delta.
It definitely looks like it's somewhere between those two, but it has that look of like that 90s hatchback, the hot hatch thing. Like what does like the cyberpunk future version of that look like? And I think they did a pretty good job with that. So, but yeah, it's all the other like slick rounded.
I'm with you. I mean, most of them just look like appliances.
I can't even name half of them because like I don't know what they are.
I mean, interestingly, like by contrast, the very same brand, the Ioniq 6, is like one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen.
It's hideous.
It's bad. Sorry,
that fits more into that
like,
group.
What is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, EVs as a whole, they have a design language to them that tends to just be like, what are you guys, like, why? Stop doing this thing that you're doing.
I think a lot of it has to do with, though, for a lot of people, a lot of people buy EVs for the identity. And like the look speaks to the identity versus just buying like the new Ford Lightning, which is like
right.
You don't know it's an electric truck unless you look at the badge. Like that's a different type of owner than the person who's like, I want everyone to see that I'm driving an EV.
I guess I feel like there's room to have it be futuristic or cutting edge or like future forward looking, whatever, without looking like they do.
Yeah.
But I'm not a designer, so
I think cars that try to be too futuristic don't like they're stunning when they first drop. Like when the Tesla first came out, I remember being like, man, that's pretty slick looking. You know, like just the shape of it. But then it becomes like the Audi TT or like the Audi TT was super cool when it came out to me. I remember thinking like with the baseball stitch and all that, like it was super cool. I like every day try to convince myself that I like Audi TTs because I like Audis, but like I want to like that car as much as I liked it when it first came out, but it was like almost it was trying too hard to be new, you know? And they actually dialed it back. I feel the same way about the 350Z. Like, because the 370Z actually dials it back a little bit. The TT second gen dials it back a bit. The new Beetle dials it back a bit. Like there was something about that early 2000s where everyone's like, we're going to make the future. And then the next iteration of it was like, well, maybe not as round as this, or maybe let's scale it back a little bit. So. Right. And I think that there's always this moment in design where everyone like wants to create a Jetsons car and then like kind of pull it back. But you got any other gripes or... We can wrap this out.
I think you know.
We could do an entire gripe episode.
I was going to say, I'm going to save them for the next one. And either whether that's firing order or I'm just going to start coming up with a list and I'm be like, all right, Brian, next time you need an episode, I'm going to come over and we're just going to hash out these because these need to be said.
Do you have any firing order ideas? Because I know I hit you yesterday, the other day. I was just in case, like, did any pop up to mind?
No, because I've been trying to hammer out this E28 exhaust. I was trying to get done.
You had just been there.
Yeah. But I'll come up with some lists.
We did a topic episode with Vinny and Ron, and I was re-listening to it today, and one of the things in it that was like one of my favorite questions. It was like kind of like a wholesome one. Was like, what's the perfect day for a car nerd? And like I went back and listened to it, and like I don't know if it'll matter much to the audience, but like I was like, man, I think like the culture needs to get back to asking more of that. Like that, and like I think the conversations we had today, the things that were exciting about you going to Riverside, Chattanooga, me go, you know, the Treffpunks, like Ultrace, like these are the moments that like need to come back in culture because or whatever that moment might be for someone. It could be a track day or event or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably like something to the effect of like the moments that every car guy deserves to experience. Like for example, like one. Firing up an engine swap for the first time.
Fantastic.
It is an all-time feeling. You know, that type of thing that's like if you've never done that and you're trying to have the car experience, like go out and make sure you do that at some point. Like you owe it to yourself to feel what that sense of accomplishment feels like.
That is an amazing feeling for not just you, but everybody who's in the garage at that point. So
yeah, and the best part is it never gets old. Every single time it is.
It's real excitement.
Yeah.
The number one thing that people would get in trouble for at Hoonigan was not filming the initial startup. I'm like, I don't care if it happens at 3:30 in the morning and you're filming it on an iPhone 3. Like that is such a real emotion when it's like, and then it catches and you're like, oh yes, it works. So good. Yeah. One of the things I had on my list of the perfect thing was working on something all day, getting it done just in time to go cruise with your friends at night when you were younger. Like you just got your new suspension on, your new whatever, and like it was just in time to like go roll with your friends. Like that, like peak automotive. But
100%.
All right, bud. Well, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to move you into the standard rotation here.
Perfect.
Rotating assembly. Have you come on for some firing order.
I love talking shop. I love arguing. So
I know you do. I feel like we didn't argue that much today.
We didn't.
We went down memory lane. It was nice.
Kind of going for a cruise. So next time we'll have some stuff. We'll
Yeah, that episode that we did with Victoria, I still like people. It is a standout episode for people. People really enjoyed. I think like how balanced the whole thing was in the end.
Well, and
like,
I still feel bad because I saw a few comments like the day that it got posted, and some people. I know that I think there was some stuff that Victoria wound up having to cut out for a couple of reasons, and it wound up being in a place where it winds up feeling like I'm just carrying on and on and on. And I felt really bad. And like from a viewer's perspective, they're like, dude, this guy just won't shut up and let her talk. And it's like, you're totally right, but it wasn't that. I mean,
but don't worry, they listen to my show where I just talk over everybody, so they're pretty used to that.
That's fair. But I had a blast with it. She was such a great sport, and she held her own. She knows her stuff. I've been trying to sing her praises to anybody that listens. So.
Yeah, you know she's out here now. She got a job at Palm Springs Ferrari. Yeah. Well, that's it. Next time, bring some more gripes. We'll figure out some more firing orders. And when we're done with this, I need to show you the things that need to get fixed on the Land Rover, because I'm not sure if you remember, but that was in the fine print was that you needed to help me fab that shifter mount.
I gotta get out of here. I've set a timer yet.
Thanks again, and thanks everybody for listening to another great one. So on to next time.
The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Of all the sunglass companies out there, you might ask, why Heatwave? Aside from them being friends of mine, they just make great shades. Awesome styles, cool collabs, smart tech. They even have extra large sizes for big heads like me. And for those of you wearing this on the job, they make ANSI Z87 spec safety glasses too. But what really attracts me to Heatwave is that they are physically a part of our culture. You will find them everywhere, from King of the Hammers to Formula Drift. You'll see everyone wearing Heatwaves at your local track day event. Damn, you might even turn laps with the co-founder Justin, because they're one of us. So, one more reason to choose Heatwave Visual to fix your face. I'm a tool dork. My obsession might even dwarf my addiction to cars. I love collecting unique and specialty tools, which is how I initially fell in love with Wera. First off, they just make aesthetically pleasing tools. They feel good in your hand, they have a great finish, their sizes are universally color-coded, and they are super strong. In 2 decades, I've never broken a tool from Wera. I wish I could say the same about my other tools, but the thing I like the most about Wera is that they create clever solutions for your wrenching woes, because you need over-engineered tools to work on today's over-engineered cars. So if you're ready to step up your tool game, whether it's the Zyklop ratchet or the Joker wrenches, find them at weratools.com. All anyone wants to talk about nowadays is how great 90s car culture was. But what everyone forgets is how bad our slammed cars rode on crappy lowering springs. At the time, that's all my wallet could muster. But when I finally did step up and get some proper coilovers, I went for KWs and never looked back. I've been running their stuff for over 2 decades now, in everything from my 911 to my RS2. I even have a custom set in my Land Rover Discovery. And yes, that bloody thing does finally run. Anyway, because of my long history with them, I am very excited to announce KW as the newest partner in this whole podcast syndicate thing I'm building. Anyway, check them out, kwsuspensions.com.